My name's Adam Schneider, and I'm with Oakwood Lending. You can check us out at oakwoodlending.com. I've been a TRIA member since 2012 and a vendor-lender member since 2016. Looking forward to doing business with you. Reach out to us at oakwoodlending.com.
Hey, TRIA members. My name is Ryan Groff with New Western Acquisitions. I am the broker in charge here in Raleigh, and we've done a lot of business with a lot of you guys, and thank you all for the business, and look forward to doing a lot more. I'm just here today. Hope everyone's safe out there. I hope everyone's staying healthy, and wishing everyone the best through these tough times. But to kind of share a little bit about what we do here at New Western. We consider ourselves a full-service brokerage, investment brokerage. Hey, TRIA members. My name is Ryan Groff with New Western Acquisitions. I am the broker in charge here in Raleigh, and we've done a lot of business with a lot of you guys, and thank you all for the business, and look forward to doing a lot more. I'm just here today. Hope everyone's safe out there, and I hope everyone's staying healthy, and wishing everyone the best through these tough times. But to kind of share a little bit about what we do here at New Western. We consider ourselves a full-service brokerage, investment brokerage that specializes in helping investors from A to Z and back. Now, what we mean by that is our primary product that we offer is our properties. We get about 15 off-market direct-to-seller deals each month here in the Triangle area. And when I say the Triangle area, I mean primarily in Raleigh, Durham, Cary, Fuquay, those areas, not necessarily the rural outskirt areas. Besides that, we also have in-house financing. If you were looking to purchase a property, we could get you pre-approved and fully approved that day for a property with very competitive rates nationally. We also have heavily vetted contractors in the area, as far as general contractors all the way down to subcontractors for AC, electrician, etc. We also are all licensed here. As I mentioned, I'm the broker in charge. Everyone is licensed. And because of that, we're able to refer you out to the best listing agents in each area, or the cheapest, or flat fee listing, or if you need a good property manager, we know a lot of good property managers in the area. So we're really looking to, make some more connections with y'all, help some more of y'all with your investing goals. And I just wanted to tell you a little bit about us. We've been around since 808, where we started in Dallas, Texas. Since then, we've expanded to about 40 offices nationwide. We've done over 18,000 investment properties, and for a little bit over 2.3 trillion in revenue. So I would look forward to doing business with y'all. Look forward to making more connections. And please feel free to contact us anytime, and an agent will be more than happy to speak with you. We are continuing to do deals right now, and there's continued opportunities out there. So I look forward to meeting more of y'all and doing more business. Thanks.
Hello, you guys. This is Roxana Wilson, and I am a successful real estate investor. I buy and hold, fix and flip, and also wholesale. And I joined Trilla simply because I wanted to connect to other like-minded investors, and also this is my way to give back. I knew that if there was going to be a community to be safe, it had to be a community such as Trilla. Okay, so if you are having doubts, and if you're thinking you cannot do it through this time, I want to let you know I just had my highest producing month thus yet, and I have 10 years experience. So just last month, I hit 100K during the coronavirus with everything shut down. So move away your belief and know that you can do it too, okay? If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at solutions@royaltybuildersllc.com. Visit me on my website at iamroxannawilson.com. Thank you. Hello, you guys. This is
My baby left me for the North Country where the wintry winters blow. Oh, I wish at home where time has never passed so slow. Way down south in North Carolina where the moon hangs bright and low. Oh, I knew the days so long. Working my fingers to the bone. I'll be waiting when you come on home. Oh, me. I've got the fires burning way down low. Oh, only me. The days are shorter and the nights are long. The hours go crawling by. Oh, hang my head and cry. How I'm longing for my darling. I keep on listening for your key in the door. Will I drive myself insane? Oh, in my arms once more. The world will be set right again. I'll be waiting when you come on home. Oh, to me. I've got the fires burning way down low. Oh, only me. My baby left me for the North Country where the wintry winters blow. Oh, I wish at home where time has never passed so slow. My baby left me for the North Country where the wintry winters blow. Oh, I wish at home where time has never passed so slow. Way down south in North Carolina where the moon hangs bright and low. Oh,
sort of trying to keep our format from our live meeting as much as possible on these meetings. It's not totally possible, but so we'll just go through a few announcements, then we'll have our legal minutes, and then we'll have our speaker. Leslie, do you want to go through the upcoming subgroup meetings for next week?
Oh, sure. Yeah, this is a strange week because we only have this main meeting this week, so everybody gets a break from the meetings, but not from the heat. It's so hot outside. Next week, though, we're jam-packed. We've got Monday night, we've got Tria West with Roxana, and who you just saw do our member minute, and she is presenting Stephen Neville on Monday night at 6, and he's the founder of Empower Solutions, and he's all about data. As everybody knows, to be successful in investing, you need good data, leads. You got to have the leads coming in. So he's developed some system that's got high quality leads, and he's going to be going over that Monday. Then Tuesday evening is our second in our REI 360 series, our monthly series that we've started. To basically take you through all the different facets of real estate investing, some stuff that we have never presented before. And next Tuesday, the 28th, we have got Joanne Musa, who is the tax lien lady. Apparently very well versed in tax lien certificates and as an alternate form of investing and getting your stuff out of the stock market, which is kind of doing the flippy floppy stuff right now. So she's coming on Tuesday night. And then, of course, we've got the end of the month is our usual WIRE, Women in Real Estate meeting, which is lunchtime or a midday meeting, starts at 12:30 on Thursday with Audria, is our subgroup leader. And she is presenting this month Ella Corbett, who is a TRIA member. And she's also a licensed GC, and she flips and she lends and she does all sorts of stuff, but she has some secret to let us know how to stage a house for sale on $1,000 budget. Just saying. Staging can get very expensive, so this might be something you want to tune into, because if you've ever dealt with the professional staging companies, it gets a lot more expensive than that. So Ella's going to be on WIRE, and that's Thursday. So that rounds out our month. Kathy?
Awesome. Thanks, Leslie. Yeah, so the 360 that Leslie mentioned, that's our new series. And even after we go back to live meetings, 360 will continue online, along with our millennials subgroup is going to continue online. And the 360 is designed to bring you things we don't normally cover, weird, different, unusual things, people from far and wide. So we've got a lot of exciting stuff lined up for you for that. Otherwise, if you want to network, since we can't be live and in person and shake hands and hug and make deals in person, please go to our TRIA Facebook networking page. There's lots of networking going on there. Another thing you can do is to make a member spotlight video, like the one you saw with Roxana tonight. We have a few of those that we alternate through the meetings. We'd love to include yours in it. And just a new thing we're trying tonight, we're gonna do a little who's got what in the main meetings. If this works out, we will try it at subgroups as well. You have to register in advance. We have 3 for tonight. And we have a suggestion out there from a member that we have a meeting that's just for a who's got what. And if you're interested in that, if that's something you'd like, send us an email at triaprojects@gmail.com. If we get enough interest, we will set that up. So a lot of exciting things going on here. So I'll just flip right over to the legal minute. I had 2 questions tonight. One is a follow-up to what I talked about last May meeting, and that is, what is the status of evictions right now with COVID? Well, in North Carolina, there was a governor's order that you could not do evictions, but that expired the end of June. However, there is still a part of the CARES Act, which is federal, so that it applies to you no matter what state you're in. And that act prevents any evictions. Did I say foreclosures before? Because I meant to say evictions. I'm talking about evictions anyway. That prevents evictions from anyone who's in, if your property is financed with a government-backed loan, so HUD, VA, FHA, anything like that. That expires as well July 31st. So right now, some evictions are open back up the end of July. Unless something gets extended, they're all going to be opened back up. That was the first question. The second question I got is something I had spoke about before. I didn't have a question from a member about it before, but it's just a trend I had seen and that I mentioned I thought was a bad thing. And that is, we're seeing a couple of wholesalers out there now where if you want to buy their property, when you submit a contract, you have to submit a non-refundable earnest money deposit, period. I just thought that was a bad idea, so I sort of warned about it if you know any wholesalers doing that. Well, lo and behold, now I actually have someone who bought a house from a wholesaler with paid a non-refundable earnest money deposit. Turns out the foundation had termite issues and foundation issues. The wholesaler never disclosed. Of course, it's hard to get a wholesaler on those issues, you know, legally, because they might not know, or you can't prove that they know. This question said the price was definitely not reflective of these issues. So this member just said expensive lesson learned. But just a warning, if you have wholesalers out there that are making you pay earnest money deposits, non-refundable up front, you know what? If nobody paid them, they wouldn't get away with doing that. So just a warning for y'all. I think that's all I have. I'm gonna turn it over to Chuck.
You done?
Yep.
Okay, good. Well, good evening, everybody. Glad you could make it tonight. We've got a really good set of speakers. We met Rachel and Jason a couple of years ago. They were in the RIA Mastermind group that TRIA belongs to, and we've belonged to for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years. And Rachel and Jason joined that group. We met them and really liked them. And we began talking to them about what they did and this, that, and the other. And we've been trying to schedule them to come in and talk, and it just hasn't worked out until just recently. They've got a really cool program. And Kathy, I thought you just talked about it.
No, Chuck, I'm sorry I stepped on your toes a little bit, but we still have the Who's Got What that we're doing tonight.
Okay, all right. So I thought Kathy was finished. So anyhow, does anybody have a deal that they want to talk about? If you do, send a note to triaprojects@gmail.com. And I think there are 3 of them. Who are they, Kathy?
Okay, we have 3 tonight. We have Ryan, James, and Alex. And we're going to go through one by one and unmute you. I'm going to start with you, Ryan. Unmuting you right now so that you can give your deal. And after Ryan's done, I will go to James and then Alex.
And Ryan, this is Jackie. I've got your deal on a PowerPoint. So if you give me a second, I'm going to share it. Can you guys see it?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, great. And I'll just flip. Ryan, tell me when you're ready and I'll go to the next page.
Okay, I'm ready. Yeah, so they had asked us to keep these pretty brief. So we have a early 1900s bungalow. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry. We have an early 1900s bungalow in historic Oakwood for sale. It's going to be a very big job. You know, it needs a full rehab, and I would probably put an addition on the back of the house. So yeah, it needs everything: windows, HVAC, roof, a couple piers, you know, the whole thing. But the days on market in the area are in the single digits. It's $1 million neighborhood. We think the ARV for this one is going to be right around 700,000, and we're selling it for 365. So if anybody's interested, I can give you a personal cell phone number, which is 919-348-9075.
Okay. Hey, Ryan, I put your cell phone number on the slide. It may of 214-476-6278.
That'll work also. Either
Okay.
is fine.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Ryan.
Sure,
Next up, we have James Clark. James, go ahead and give us what you got.
Hello, my name is James Clark. You can reach me at 910-354-5811 or invest at jnjcarolina.com. Again, that's 910-354-5811 or invest at jnjcarolina.com. I'm looking for a joint venture with an experienced investor using the Burr strategy, specifically in multifamily. And I also am negotiating right now for a 12-flex in Fayetteville, North Carolina. That's off market. I will need a joint venture for that, but if you're interested, just let me know. I do have the comps. I've ran the analysis, and I'm working with a lender also who has already approved the funds if the deal were to go through. Again, James Clark, and you can reach me at 910-354-5811 or invest at jnjcarolina.com. Thank you.
Thank you, James. And last but not least, we have Alex Lean.
Hey everyone, thanks for having me and allowing me to speak. My name is Alex Lean. I'm an agent over at New Western Acquisitions, one of the sponsors of TRIA. We have a property available today. Just go over briefly again, just to get it over with. This property is a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. It's right on the border of Gatewood Sub, which is one of the most desirable subdivisions in Durham. The comps that we pull for the area are selling way over asking price, with one of them actually selling 22 grand over. And most of them are selling in under 5 days on market, with the average being about 3. So you can see how desirable the area is. House does have some cracks in the drywall and needs some reinforcing done to the supports, which is somewhat rare for a 2002 build. But it's relatively new, sitting on just under an acre of land, so there shouldn't be any major work done to the electrical or plumbing. It should all just be minimal wear and tear. For the most part, the property basically just needs an uplift to push the ARV closer to retail. We're thinking it's ARV roughly around 280, 290K. And with the amount of work that needs to be done, it should be nothing more than 5-6 weeks to get it done. So you could walk away with a good amount of profit in just over a month's worth of work. If you're interested in learning more about the property, feel free to reach out to me at 919-397-0380. Thanks again, and have a nice night.
Okay, good.
Thank you very much. Chuck, back to you.
If you've got any other deals that you want to explore for the next meeting, why, let us know. triaprojects@gmail.com, and we'll get them on. So anyhow, let me finish up with Jason Roberts and Rachel Snyder. We've known them for a couple of years. We've been trying to get them down here to talk to us, and it finally worked out, although we're doing it online now. But one of the things that a lot of investors come up against are subject to deals. And a lot of people don't even know what a subject to deal is. They don't know the legalities of that. They don't know the ins and outs, don't even know how to really make them work, and what they've got to do to make them work and not get caught, that sort of thing. So Jason and Rachel are they've got this kind of down pat. They're gonna tell you what, how they started out, and then we're going to go into how they're handling subject to deals. And I think you're going to find this really interesting. So Jason, Rachel, take it.
Hi guys, man. We certainly appreciate it. Yes, we were super excited to be able to come and hang out with everybody and get to know everybody face to face. We are now in an environment where we get to do it through Zoom. So I can see some of you. Thanks. Number one, thanks, Chuck, for having us. Thanks for putting your faith and trust in us. We're super excited about this presentation tonight. Thanks to everybody on the team at TRIA. You guys have been absolutely fantastic. For those of you guys that are members and non-members, it is so important to be plugged into an organization like this. And you guys are so lucky to be able to have an organization like TRIA in your backyard, because we get to travel around the country and we get to share and teach, and the type of group that you guys have and the education that you have there, I'm just telling you, plug into it, get connected with them, go to the meetings, be present, attend, be a part of what's going on, because that in and of itself will pull you in the direction,
Right, that community is imperative.
Absolutely, it's such a huge difference. So thanks again for having us. Rachel and I are really excited. This is kind of wild for us. Rachel and I started out in short sales back in 2010. We've done a little over 400 short sale flips since then. And this has been a business for us that has absolutely changed our life in a big, big way. And it changed our life in a time, if you guys remember 2010, when the market was collapsing, but people were losing their homes. There was a ton of foreclosures, and you'll hear our story in a second, but we were in a really, really bad place ourselves when we started out in real estate investing. And it was this strategy that has helped us. I mean, we've made millions of dollars with this strategy. We've helped a lot of other people make a lot of money with this strategy. And more importantly than anything, this is the most timely presentation that I think you guys should be super excited about this. And I don't want to confuse the message. I'm not excited at all about COVID. I'm not excited at all about there's people that are on unemployment and losing their job. I'm not excited at all. And when you hear our story in a second about how we lost everything in the last market collapse, you'll understand that I'm in no way excited about the pain that people are going through right now. What I am excited about is through this strategy, the amount of people that we're able to help, number one, and number two, the amount of profits and money that we're able to make by utilizing the strategy. Well, I mean, it's the coolest experience in the whole entire world when you go to a closing and the homeowner's in tears and they're hugging you saying, thank you so much. I have no idea what I would have done without you guys. And they're giving us a hug and they're super happy and appreciative.
Right.
And when we're walking out the door, the title company slides us a check for $40,000 or $50,000. To me, it's been one of the most rewarding experiences, especially when we got started, when we were at a time that is very much like what a lot of people are experiencing right now. And we'll get into some numbers here in a second, but in my opinion, this next 12 to 24 months, there's always been a lot of money to be made in real estate investing. That's no secret. Good market, bad market, there's always a lot of opportunity to create wealth and grow wealth in real estate investing. But every once in a while, there's a change where an avalanche can happen where you can get a 10 times result of what you're accustomed to normally getting. And that, I believe, that time is right now. So super excited to be able to share this with you. I hope you guys listen to this. I hope you take a ton of notes. We are condensing like a 3-day presentation, a 3-day training into a 90-minute presentation. So I'm going to go fast. We're going to give you as much value as we can possibly give you. We're going to give you every tip, trick, strategy that we can possibly go over in 90 minutes. I know it's going to go fast. We are going to be doing a 2 full day training coming up, and we'll talk about that at the end. If after this 90 minutes, you guys are like, this is where I need to be, this is what I want to be a part of, then great. If it's not, that's okay too. We're still going to give you a ton of value over this next 90 minutes, but throughout this presentation, I may reference a couple of times, like we'll get into that deeper in the 2 day, and that's because we've got 60 minutes and that time's already ticking. So let's jump. You want to kind of talk a little bit about what we're going to cover tonight so everybody kind of knows what that's going to look like?
Absolutely. We're going to start off with the basics, right? The introduction to short sales, what you need to know about this specific investing strategy. And then real time, what's going on right now with the impact of COVID, what that actually means, how we're going to market to these pre-foreclosures, building your short sale team, because there is some requirements there we need some other folks involved in this investment strategy. We're going to talk about these inbound, outbound calls, how to make sure that you're creating the most amount of opportunities that you possibly can.
Is this different with short sales?
It absolutely is. Homeowner appointments and what those documents look like, because it's a little bit different. We need more than just a purchase contract in order to take this deal down. The BPO and the appraisal, and I'll explain those fully to you. We'll talk about stopping that foreclosure sale date, because that's our number one task once we get over the homeowner appointment side. And then we're going to get into some negotiations and just some other bonus tips and tricks and things that you guys need in your tool belt to really go out and effectively market this strategy and help as many people as will be in need for something like that because of the impact of COVID, right? But before we get into telling you why you should listen to us, right, and you kind of getting to know who we are, I want to take a minute and we'll talk about this, but short sales was, as Jason talked about, there are opportunities that come up in life and they completely change the course of your future. And that is what short sales did for us. And it's extremely important that we jump on those opportunities when they're in front of us. And this is a strategy for those of you that got into investing. And I think a lot of us get into it and we think about the money side, which is really, really awesome. But as you get immersed into this business, what you really are is a solution to somebody's problem. And being able to serve someone in need is more rewarding than any check you'll ever put in your bank account. And this is one of those strategies that absolutely hits home in that area of being of service in your community. This is an extremely profitable investing strategy. I have seen the largest investing checks come from short sales.
Every six-figure flip deal that we've done where we made a six-figure net profit has come from short sales.
Yes. This is an extremely scalable investing strategy as well. You know, there is not another strategy that I've come into contact with that you can build a pipeline of properties. You can have 10 to 50, we ran in the hundreds at times of approved, signed, accepted contracts between you and the homeowner. Now it's just a matter of your ability to be able to negotiate the deal or outsource the negotiations. But you could truly build a pipeline of these properties. You won't close every single one of them, but you'll start to create consistency with that pipeline, right? And then it becomes a math problem. If I have X amount average in there, 10% is that number you'll look to close every single month. And this creates certainty in a business that we don't always have a lot of certainty in, right? And there's very little competition. There's been some negative mindsets, I think, around short sales. And so I think it's important that you dive into the education and you learn as much as you can and then go take action on that. But we're going to show you the right way that's going to ease a lot of those pains that you've maybe heard from other people. A lot of times when we hear that, they either haven't done enough of them to really have a good gauge of the good and the bad, right? Or they didn't follow the process, right? And so that's so important. And that's what we're here to give to you guys, is to make sure that this is a streamless process for you in here. But you want to get in a little bit, Jason, about why they maybe should even listen to us, like what our experience is in this?
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of lessons in this story. So this may go off, it's not really off real estate path, but one of the things that I've noticed, and Rachel and I, we coach some of the top investors in the country from California to Baltimore, guys that are doing 10, 20, 30 transactions a month. I'm not saying that to be like, hey, look at me. I'm saying that because you start to see patterns. You start to see why can somebody that hears the same message, why does one person hear that message and totally change their life? They pay their house off, they pay their cars off, they quit their full-time job, and they have a ton of success in real estate investing, and another person that heard the same message doesn't. And so I want to spend a few minutes on this too, because it's not typically the real estate mechanics is why people fail. It's because they don't really necessarily have the business experience or know how to put together a team or a structure that can be duplicatable and produce given results. So I want to tell our story a little bit. Number one, like Rachel said, so you know why the heck you should listen to us. But also number two, because I think there's some super valuable lessons that will help you, whether you're an already experienced real estate investor and you're trying to scale your business up higher, or you're brand new to this and you're saying, hey, man, I'd love to get out of corporate America. I would love to be able to exit that job, but I'm trying to figure out how. I'm a husband, I'm a wife, I've got 3 kids at home, I got a full-time job, I'm working 50 hours a week. Like, that's our expertise. That's our wheelhouse, is helping people transition through that. So if it's okay with you guys, I want to give you that gift as well in a few minutes. But to kind of jump into this, I know we don't have a ton of time. At 18 years old, you know, Rachel and I both grew up in the same town, small farm town, Troy, Missouri, about an hour outside of St. Louis. It wasn't a ton of opportunity or a lot of things going on in that town. My dad bailed on us when I was 12, and you know, Rachel comes from a similar upbringing. We certainly weren't silver spoon people. We scratched and clawed our way to where we are today. But at 18 years old, my mom was basically like, you know, you need to get a job or go to college full time. So I rolled in college, and I also got a job. She was trying to raise 3 boys on one income, and so I did my part to try to do there. But my first and only job that I've ever had was at a collection agency, and I don't know how many of you have ever done that job before, but there's some good and bad that came out of it. The good was I made 200 to 300 outbound phone calls a day, every single day, and you get over the fear of making prospecting calls real fast when you do that. The downside was that pretty much every single person that I talked to was cussing me out, screaming. Nobody's happy when you call them about their Discover card bill that they haven't paid in 6 months. So that was the world that I was in. The other upside to it though was my very first year there at 18 years old, made like $75,000. And all my buddies were getting a 4-year degree. I was still enrolled in college at the time. All my buddies were enrolled at, like I was at the community college. My buddies were at Mizzou getting a 4-year degree. And they were hoping that after they got their 4-year degree that they could land a job that paid them half. I mean, this is 2000, this is 1998 actually, paid them half of what I was already making. And so as a young kid without much guidance, without any real parental influence, my decision making was 80 grand a year is better than 40 grand a year. And I'm already doing this. So I'm going to step back from the college thing. But I realized real fast, and I know some of you probably are experiencing this too, it was a big call center. I walked into that place and I saw people that were 30 years old and 40 years old and 50 years old and 60 years old and 70 years old in this ocean of cubicles. And I didn't know why God put me on the earth at that time, but I knew what he didn't put me on the earth for, at least I hope so. And I hoped that it wasn't to spend the next 30, 40 years of my life in that ocean of cubicles. And so I knew in that moment, like it hit me that I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but it isn't this. And there was a guy that worked with me there at the collection agency that left and got into the real estate world. He got into the mortgage business. And my boss at the time, his name was Sean Ebling, and he came to me, this is about a year after me working there, and he said, "You're never going to believe this. That Kevin Boschen guy that used to work with us here, he made over 100 grand his first year in the mortgage business." And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. But it didn't really carry a ton of weight with me because that was pretty much what I was making. And, at the time as an 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid, that's, can sometimes be your main focus is the income part of it. And I kind of discounted, didn't really think anything of it. About a year later, so I'm probably 19, 20 at this point, my boss, Sean, comes to me and he says, "You're never going to believe this. Kevin Boschen's made almost $300,000 his second year in the real estate world." And I said, no freaking way. Like there's no, I just didn't believe it. Kevin was a great guy, but he wasn't this salesy guy. He wasn't this guy that you thought was just going to go out and kill it. And so I said, set up a lunch. I want to talk to him. I want to kind of pick his brain a little bit. And so we went to lunch and I was like, man, this is just hard for me to believe. And he pulled out his wallet, and out of his wallet, he pulled a little piece of paper and he slid it across the table to me. And it was his pay stub. And it said, I don't know, $286,000 or something. And man, that got my attention. That got my attention right there in the spot that, man, I don't know that I want to be a loan officer or own a mortgage company forever, but man, helping somebody buy their first house sounds like a whole lot more fun than calling people that hadn't paid their Discover card bill in 6 months. And you get paid more money. Cool. So I called down to the state of Missouri and started asking questions. What does it take to open a mortgage company in Missouri? And they said, we'll send you the packet. And remember, guys, this is 2000. So the requirements were significantly easy, a million times. It's very, very difficult to open a mortgage company today. Lots of liquid cash. Back then, there was no licensing. There was none of that. There was a big laundry list of things, but there's two things that I was worried about. One of them was I needed $50,000 in cash, which I did not have. And the other one was $1 million surety bond. And I made some phone calls. I found out that with good credit, $1 million surety bond isn't that big a deal. A couple $1,000 you can buy one. So that was off my list. Other thing was the 50 grand in cash, which I did not have. So at 20 years old, I lived the next year like a hermit, and I saved up all my bonus checks. I didn't do all the things that most 20-year-old kids are doing, going out and partying and having a good time living life. I lived like a hermit. I saved every check I could because I was laser focused on figuring out how to make that happen. And on April 15th, 2 weeks after my 21st birthday, so that dates me a little bit. 2 weeks after my 21st birthday, I opened my own business, my own real estate business. And it was on the mortgage side, but it was in, real estate related. And I realized really, really quickly that I had no idea what I was doing. I had the idea, I had the ambition, I was super excited about it. But I realized I spent so much time and energy figuring out how to open the company that I knew absolutely nothing about how to run it or how to actually do the business. I mean, as crazy as this sounds, like for any of you that know me, you know that this is true because you know how I am, but I didn't even know how to do a loan application the day I opened this business. And so here I quit, by that point, $100,000 a year job for this business that I really knew nothing about. And in the midst of me freaking out my very first day of being self-employed, I realized that, hey, wait a second here. My doorbell rings and I run downstairs. It's this guy, Jason Job, who used to work with me at the collection agency. And he said, hey man, I just quit. And I said, I'm looking at him like dumbfounded. What do you mean you just quit? And he said, I want to do this mortgage thing with you. And I'm like, oh my God, no. The last thing on earth you want to do is this mortgage thing with me. I have no idea what I'm doing. I made a big, huge mistake. Call them, like drive up there, tell them you got in a car accident or got a flat tire, beg for your job back, whatever you're going to do. And he proceeds to talk me into it. And I said, I can't even afford to pay you. So we go up to this spare bedroom of this little condo that I owned. And we start making some phone calls. About an hour later, my doorbell rings again. It's this girl, Diane Lentz. Swear to God, this is a true story. Who also worked with me at the collection agency, who also just quit her job. And by the end of the day, by about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, there's 9 of us in the spare bedroom of my condo. And we're calling friends and family members. We're asking them if they want to refinance. Luckily, if you guys remember, 2001 was kind of the beginning of the mortgage boom, the real estate boom, the interest rate reduction that really we're still under right now. It's never really gone back up since then, maybe a little bit, but we've been in these really low rates now for 15, 20 years. And we were able to transition that company. One thing that I realized really, really quickly, and I want you guys to make note of this, is I realized real quick that there had to be a better way. I could fumble around and try to figure this out on my own, or I could find somebody that had already gotten the result that I was trying to get. And I did that. I found a mentor. I found a guy that was one of the first, Greg Frost, for any of you guys that have ever been in the mortgage business, you know who he is. We hired him as a mentor. And we went from a company that was operating out of the spare bedroom of my condo to 10 employees, 20 employees, 40 employees, 60 employees, to one point, right around 100 employees. We went from a business that was doing nothing to doing tens of millions of dollars a year in annual revenue. I remember being a 22-year-old kid driving to the bank with $800,000 worth of title checks in my pocket, thinking that I was God's gift to the world, right? I mean, I was a 22-year-old kid. I was super proud, probably too proud of what I was doing. And we hired these smart accountants and CPAs and tax people and all this stuff. And they said, Jason, you need expenses. And so I built this big house, and they said, you need more expensive. And so more expenses. And so I leased cars. I mean, at one point my driveway looked like a new car dealership. And I promise, for any of you guys that think this guy is kind of a bragger, I promise you this story comes to a big, huge crash obliteration here in a second. I'm not bragging, I'm making a point. But in the midst of all that, it didn't matter how much money I spent, and I wasn't reckless with the money. Whatever we were spending, or I was spending, 10 times more money was coming in the next day. It wasn't beyond our means. We had a ton of liquid cash, but we had debt, and then 2007 came, and most of you guys remember probably 2007. For those of you that don't, that was the last market crash that we experienced. And it took our 100-person company that was doing tens of millions of dollars a year in revenue, and inside of 90 days, we were down to 6 or 7 employees. We went from bringing in millions of dollars in a month to losing $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 a month after month after month after month, and there was nothing I could do to stop the bleeding. At any given time prior to that, we could have paid off we had $500,000 worth of printers and scanners and fax machines. We could have written a check.
All
for that.
the things they tell you to go out and finance, right?
We could have paid cash for my house at one point. We could have paid cash for the cars. And it was, no, that's not the smart way to do things. And so I remember clear as day pulling my $80,000, $90,000 Escalade up to the front of the bank and running inside to grab something. And one of the girls out on the sales floor yelled, Jason, somebody's stealing your truck. And I looked out there, and you can guess who was stealing the truck. It was the repo man. My truck was up on the back of the thing. And, I'm a guy that I had an 800 credit score my whole life. I grew up in a brewery family. My dad beat it into me since I was a kid that your job as a man is to work and provide, and you always pay your bills and you never pay them late. And I grew up in a really strict environment until my dad bailed. And so that was bred into me. I never paid a bill late in my life. And here I am standing outside in the rain playing Let's Make a Deal with the repo man. And I remember, I'm a Christian, I'm a believer. I'm not pushing that on you. I'm just saying that's who I am. And I remember thinking to myself, God, what did I do to deserve this? All we did is work and work. I subscribe to that saying that if I work really, really hard right now, then someday I can have the life that I want. And guys, I want to show you a different way, because I believe that is a lie, and that someday may never come. Subscribing to that model, there's a different way and a better way to do things. And so that was October 2010 that happened, and I'll show you something here in a second. But in October 2010, you can see it. I didn't black anything out. That's my real Chapter 7 bankruptcy discharge. For those of you guys that don't know, in Missouri, we're a deficiency judgment state. So when your house that you owe $1 million on sells for $500,000 at the foreclosure auction, you still owe that other $500,000, even though you're never going to live there ever again in your life. So I was forced in a place where I had to file Chapter 7 bankruptcy. So as if things weren't already bad enough, I had to file Chapter 7 bankruptcy. The address that you see there on my bankruptcy was this little crappy, probably 800 square foot farmhouse that I had to move into that was infested with mice. And the only reason I could live there was because the first month's rent wasn't due for 30 days. And it was $400. And I was worried about, I go from being a millionaire to wondering how I'm going to come up with $400 to pay my rent. And I'm not saying this for any of you guys to feel sorry for me if you're bad for me. I want you to just kind of get a perspective, because we all, as human beings, right? We all make excuses for why we don't have what we want. We don't have enough time. We don't have enough money. We got a full-time job. We have all these different things. And I just want to show you that you can change that. You can turn that around from anything. That was the same month that I went to a short sale training from the guy who ended up mentoring us. He was giving a 4-day short sale training. And the guy's done this training. Some of you probably know who he is. The guy's done this training, 50, 60 times. And it's normally $2,000 to go to his event. And it's always been that. And one time in history, he did it for free. I didn't know him at the time. Was October 2010, same month that this bankruptcy went through. And Rachel and I and another person from our office went to that 4-day event. And I don't know how many pages of notes we took, but hundreds of pages of notes.
I'm sure I took a lot more notes than you did.
I'm sure that you did. I'm sure they were much better than my notes. But what we were looking for is a new blueprint. We were looking for like a new operating plan. And that's really what I want to share with you guys tonight.
And I think what we knew, not to interrupt you, but what we knew is that we could create success because that had happened before, but we couldn't do it in the business that we knew.
Yeah,
so we were looking for that new blueprint. Like, what else is it, right? What else can we pivot to?
Absolutely. And that very next year, those are a real copy of our tax returns. I didn't black anything out. My freaking tax ID number's on there. I just want to be transparent and real, because I hope that after 90 minutes, and I can motivate some of you to change your life in a big, big way, because this changed our lives forever. It changed our families' lives. It changed generations down. It changed our children's lives. This investing strategy was an absolute game changer for us. In 2011, we flipped 111 houses, and we grossed right at $3.6 million in net profit. That was net on the deals. We still had our office expenses and stuff like that, but in the scheme of things, millions of dollars in net profit. And you can see those are our 3 different tax returns. That one I think says 2.2 million. The other one's 1.2 million. The other one's a couple $100,000. So I share that with you. You don't have to go out and do 111 houses, but I'm telling you guys right now that with everything that's going on right now in this market and the things that are taking place, this is going to happen again to some degree. We may not experience it as much as we did during this last go around, or it might be twice as much. We don't know. But what I do know for a fact is we're going to experience it again. And so why not learn the skill right now? Because here's the reality of the situation. If you wait until these foreclosures kick back up and filings start kicking back up to get the education, then everyone else is going to have the jump on you, and it's going to be too late. There's going to be people in your market that have already dove in, that have already started their marketing, that have already started to create relationships. And so I really want to motivate you. Please listen to me. Pay attention to this now, because it can be an absolute game changer, whether you're an experienced investor or a newer investor.
Right. And every single one of those houses was short sale.
Every
one of them that we did. We didn't know anything else. And
wasn't rehabs.
Yeah,
we didn't have any of our own money. We had no credit. We had no, I had a 350 probably credit score with a $500,000 deficiency judgment, a foreclosure, car repos, and a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Yeah. So nobody was, I want you guys to understand that, because we all can make excuses as to why we can't do these deals. And if anybody had excuses, we did, but we figured out a way. Resourcefulness is the ultimate resource. So
absolutely.
we want to give you guys those things tonight. We've done 400 plus flip deals since then. It's probably into the 500s by now. We coach some of the top real estate investors in the country. We never set out to do that, but part of the mastermind that Chuck was talking about, we joined a mastermind pretty early on, and we were, these other RIA groups around the country said, will you come teach us how the heck you guys closed 111 deals with short sales? And so that's really where the teaching side of this got started. We own a hard money lending business. This isn't a plug. You guys have awesome hard money lending resources at your RIA already. Use them. But we took a lot of our profits and we are able to start doing hard money lending, and that's become our retirement. You know, in this self-employment world, we have to create our own retirement, and we've put millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars into circulation, just in funding with the profits that we've made from deals. So I want you guys to know that I think the most important part of this whole slide is that we do all of this in 4 hours a day or less. Rachel and I's work schedule today is probably 3 or 4 days a week from 10 to 2. That's it. And I know some of you are saying, oh, yeah, right. I would have been the person saying, oh, yeah, right, to you if you were saying this 5-6 years ago. But there's when I'm telling you there's a different way, there's a better way, and I want to show you how to do that. I want to show you how to build a business that can serve you instead of you serving it. Rachel and I have accomplished absolutely nothing if I take you away from your corporate America job that you're working 40 hours a week and put you into a business where you're working 50 hours a week. Because my goal is to help you make a lot of money, but I want to help you have a life too, because that was the game changer piece of this. I mean, you've been down at the ranch how many days so far this year?
I quarantined at the ranch for 70 days, but I've probably been there about over 100 days since March.
And I don't know how many days we're into this year.
I don't know.
It's half of 365. So,
yep.
I mean, that's freaking incredible. And we would have never been in the mortgage business. We were there at 5:30 or 6 in the morning, and we left at 11 o'clock at night, probably 6 or 7 days a week. We were absolute slaves of that business. So I'm telling you from experience, and we're doing it, we're living it, that you can do it in a different way. And we want to show you how to do that. We're going to jump into the real estate stuff. 3 things I want to give you real quick, and then we're going to jump into this strategy. And this is something that is just as important as what we're going to teach coming up. I want you to understand this, because this is the universal laws of success. This is what, when Rachel said we had success in another business, we have bought into a Spanish school that started out as absolutely nothing. We're now in 36 or 37 states. We employ close to 300 teachers across the country. As an investor, we came in and blew that business up and scaled it. It was because of these 3 things I'm about to teach you. We built a life insurance call center that's one of the largest in the United States in this current day from using these 3 things. And I want you to take these and I want you to apply them to your real estate investing business. Number 1 is you have to have a recipe or blueprint. I don't mean goals. I don't mean saying I want to be a real estate investor. I want to flip houses. I want to do 10 houses this year. That's goals. What I mean is a recipe or blueprint, a step-by-step operating plan for what needs to happen on a daily basis in your business in order to achieve the result that you're trying to get. One of the very first things we do with a coaching student is say, what are we trying to accomplish? What are we trying to build? You know, in a perfect situation, what would you want that to look like? Would you want to close 2 deals a month? Okay, great. Do you want to do wholesales? Do you want to do flips? Do you want to do rehabs? Do you want to do short sales? What do you want that to be? And help us understand what that is, so that we can reverse engineer a blueprint of what needs to happen on a daily basis in order to achieve that result. You have to have that blueprint, whether it's our blueprint or someone else's, you have to have one. Look at anybody who's super successful at anything. I promise you they're operating off of a strict blueprint. Number 2, you've got to have the ability to take massive action. Look back at the mortgage company story that I told you, and look at the story about us building our short sale business. If you look, all 3 of these things were predominant in there. We got a recipe or a blueprint for short sales. We took massive action. We did exactly what that blueprint said. We hired the guy teaching the class to mentor us. We closed 111 deals our first year. That's crazy. We did the same thing in the mortgage business. This is the recipe that we have used. And I'm not here to sell mentoring or coaching either. I'm saying find somebody that's already achieved the result that you're trying to get and hire them, work for them, do whatever it takes to get their knowledge to help you get to your finish line faster. That's how people are able to quit their job, their $100,000 a year IT job, in a year and a half when they met us and said their exit plan was 5 years. This works. So please pay attention to that. Please write that down and really think about what's your blueprint going to be, how are you going to take action, and who's going to mentor you to get there.
Yeah.
You want to talk about COVID and foreclosures a
I
little bit?
do.
Let's jump into this.
Yeah, and I don't want to go too far in this, but we're big on making sure that whatever we're teaching is relatable to what we're experiencing right now today. What is going on today? And whether we like it or not, COVID is what is going on today. And when we were talking earlier about this opportunity that's there, I don't say use opportunity, and some people think that it's, to take advantage or it has some kind of negative impact on it. I'm saying there's going to be a lot of people out there that need help. And when they call looking for a solution to their problem, a lot of times a short sale is something that's never brought up to them. but it is their best option to be able to hit that reset button for their family and start things over and get back on their feet again. And so I'm not normally one to share statistics, but I just read this article and I thought, man, here starts this domino effect that we've been predicting is coming. But 32% of Americans did not make a full July mortgage payment or rent payment, right? And so
I mean, hold on. I mean, make sure everybody hear 32%. That's 1 out of 3 people did not pay. 4.8 million people didn't pay their July mortgage payment yet.
Well, and we've got
Crazy.
some benefits that are happening right now, right? For people and you're getting your unemployment and, you know, there's some that are getting this extra $600 benefit and that's so great. But that ends just like everything else at some point. There are some people who are doing these forbearance and that's going to be an objection that you get when you start making outbound calls or getting inbound responses. They're going to say to you, I've got it taken care of. I'm in a forbearance. And unfortunately, they don't understand what that really means. You know, the majority of these forbearance agreements have a balloon payment. And if you couldn't make one mortgage payment, the likelihood that you can make 3 or 4 is pretty slim. And that might roll them into a loan modification. But we don't know what loan modifications will look like during this period here, right? So all we can do is base it off of what we saw the last time and base it off of that history. 4% of people that applied for a loan modification were actually granted a final approval on there. There were a lot of temporary approvals that went through.
But 4%. 4 out of 100 people that applied for a loan mod actually got one. And a little extra statistic there, over 90% of the people who got a loan mod defaulted within the first 12 months. So it's not a viable option.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, you know, those are things you're going to hear, but you really have to think about the people that have been impacted by this. You know, there was a misconception every health worker is so crazy busy right now. There are a lot of them that are not, because
my mom's been a nurse for 30 years. She was furloughed for months.
Right. Yeah. And I mean,
they
people
can't do elective surgeries. They can't, I mean, the hospital in of itself, yeah, there's people going in to get tested for COVID, but everything else got shut down.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of people, you're just not going to the hospital in the same way. Dentists weren't able to work for several weeks during all of these things, but entrepreneurs have been impacted a lot. Restaurant owners, you know, any of that. And then there's the trickle effect, you know, the servers, the cooks, all of those people that then work for those restaurants are being financially impacted. If you have any job that's related to the travel industry, travel is not what it once was. And we'll see things come back, right? But the damage has been done. It's making up for the loss of all of this. But there are going to be so many different properties that become available through this. A lot of times we think the only way, you know, that we're going to do an effective short sale is bringing us a single family residence, but you'll gain access to multifamily. We're working on a deal right now that's a multifamily that we're looking at short sale process through. There will be commercial buildings, commercial real estate,
strip malls,
Airbnb. Think about the impact that industry has hit. And if you're not renting out the way that you ran your numbers to be renting out, and you're experiencing a high level of vacancy right now, a lot of people bought those in very high leveraged bank loans, and you can't cover all of that if they're not income producing. You might be able to for a while, but eventually that catches up with you. We'll also see some raw land become available through this. And so I share this with you so you keep your mind open to, regardless of what types of properties you're wanting to gain access to, this is an investment strategy that can bring those to you. And so I want to start off in making sure that everyone has a clear understanding of what a short sale is. And the real definition is up there on the screen, but I'm just going to tell you in layman's terms, it's really taking a property where they're either facing foreclosure or will soon become delinquent. They're experiencing some type of a hardship, and you work with the bank, with the lender who owns their mortgage, to accept less than what they actually owe on the mortgage. So they owe $300,000 and you're able to negotiate to purchase that home for $200,000. That is your short sale process, right? And so you have that definition, and now we need to talk a little bit about what type of short sales that we have, right? So there are two different ways that short sales are, that pre-foreclosures, that foreclosures are actually filed. It's either judicial or non-judicial. And when you do a Google search on this, you're going to see where it says this state does both. They primarily foreclose one way or the other. And you guys are actually non-judicial, which is what Missouri is as well. So we have very similar procedures here. But for those of you that might be marketing in other states outside of North Carolina, judicial foreclosure is when the mortgage doesn't have a power of sale clause. And so the lender has to go through a court process to get approval to start the foreclosure. And that's where we see kind of lengthier timeframes when you hear of people who have not made a mortgage payment in 18 months, but they haven't been foreclosed on yet, right? Those take a little bit longer because there's a court process involved with it. The opposite of that is a non-judicial foreclosure. And that is where there's not a court process because there is a power of sale clause, which went into play the day that you bought your house. That was included. And so they can file for foreclosure and start those proceedings with the local foreclosing attorney's office. I mean, they've got some things that they have to go through, but they can move pretty quickly. We are a 21-day state. You need notice. 21 days later, you can move to foreclosure. And so understanding whatever market you're going to use the strategy in, are you judicial? Are you non-judicial? We do a couple tweaks to the marketing depending on which way your state actually closes. But now you know what type of timeline you're up against. How much time do you actually have to get this going? So we always get the question, why would the banks agree to take less than what is owed?
Well, I think a crazy part of this that most people can't wrap their mind around is it has no bearing on what they owe on the house.
Yes.
And everyone thinks, and it makes sense. I thought this in the beginning too, that it doesn't matter if they owe $600,000. You can buy the place for 40 grand if these certain things line up. And we've done this hundreds of times, but it doesn't make sense sometimes as to why they would do that. But I just want you to understand and trust, just give me that this far, that just wrap your mind around it. Doesn't have any bearing on what they owe. That has nothing to do with the lender's decision on what they're going to take. Bless you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So they're lending money on a secured asset. When things get behind, it affects their rating. So one of the reasons why they're willing to take less than what's owed or take a short sale to begin with is because, think about it. Banks are in the business of what? What are they in the business of doing? Lending money, right? They're in the business of lending money out. They're not in the business of selling real estate, of rehabbing real estate. They want no part of that. If you understand, fractional lending or how that works, how the banking system works, for every dollar in deposits, they can lend out, $6 or $7 back out into the real world. So anytime something is in delinquency or default, they lose that multiple lending ability. So the faster they can bring that loan current, the faster they can use those funds again to lend out more money. Not only that, but the federal government monitors their delinquency ratings. And if they get too high on that delinquency percentage, the federal government can actually come in and shut that bank down. And they're well aware of this. Remember 2007. It wasn't that all these banks were going out of business right away. It was that they were also being shut down by the government because their default ratios got way out of whack. So when that number starts to creep up, they're much more motivated to take a loss or dump something off their books, because even though they take a loss on the property, it no longer counts as a delinquent loan once it's paid. So another reason they might want to do that.
Right. And if you're in second lien position on something, especially if we see the market change directions, right now everything's flying off the market first couple days, 10, 15, 20 grand over list price, right? At some point there will be a correction of that. And so if that happens, these homes can't be sold at the same price, right? And so if you're not sitting in first lien position, there may not be any money to be distributed, which is a motivation for those additional lien holders to push out. And a lot of people do a first and second mortgage to acquire their home and purchase it, and they do it with the exact same bank. So there's a concern there for them to keep those numbers where they need to be. The other side of this that you need to understand, because you're going to be dealing with the homeowners, right? We'll get to the banks at some point, but our first communication is going to be with these homeowners. And so you have to understand what their motivation is. Why is this a good option for them? And so they call, let's just say their mortgage is with Chase, and they call Chase, and really up until COVID hit. Before, the only options that they really had was to do a loan modification, which you have to qualify for, right? Where they're either going to stretch out the term of the mortgage or they're going to reduce the interest rate. Either way they do it, it's not a huge financial, like significant savings. They're not getting $300 or $400 knocked off their monthly mortgage payment. Generally, it's a modification from $100 to maybe $150, if not sometimes $50, $60. That's not enough to change someone's financial hardship, right? That is not enough of a financial savings for them.
It didn't come down to $60.
Right.
It was why they couldn't pay their mortgage.
Absolutely. And then some of them offer this kind of deed in lieu of foreclosure, right? But that is also an approval process for them to take that over, which I kind of compare to like a vehicle repossession, right? Where you hand it back over to the bank, but those take qualifications. Now, right now, an option that's being passed out are these forbearance agreements where they're giving them a relief for a certain amount of time, but that money will come due at the end of that term of the forbearance. And that for some people might be a temporary solution, but it's not a long-term solution to their problem.
It's a Band-Aid. It's a time bomb.
Absolutely.
Is what it is, because like you said, it's not what people think. I encourage you, call your lender and see. I'm not saying that 1 out of 10 people isn't getting something different. When I'm saying what most people are getting through that forbearance is you don't have to make a payment for 3 months, but on the 4th month, you have to pay all 3 payments that you missed plus the 4th month payment.
Right.
And I don't know about you guys, but for somebody that can't afford a $2,000 a month payment, they're certainly not going to be able to pay $8,000 on month number 4. So all of this is coming. All of this snowball is coming, and it's coming soon.
Right. And we're seeing it happen already right now. But I said before, as a real estate investor, we're problem solvers, right? We're a solution to their problem. And we help them avoid foreclosure, which anytime they go through foreclosure, there's a credit impact, right? And so you can look this up and check this out, but a short sale on their credit report versus a foreclosure, they'll be able to be extended credit faster and it will have less of an impact. Most of the time when you're looking at an approval letter, it will tell you exactly how they're going to report it. Most of the time it says settle for less than what was owed on their mortgage. You guys are not a deficiency judgment state, so you really don't have to worry about this, but there are a lot of other states that do, which mean that the bank can come and place a judgment
Pursue them for deficiency.
if it goes to foreclosure, right? And say you owed $300,000 and they sell it on the courthouse steps for $250,000. There's a $50,000 deficiency there. They secure that they reserve the right to pursue them for that difference there. In the short sale process, we get that waived for them. So they don't have that worry of what's going to happen. We allow them more time in their home. Most of them aren't really sure where they're going to relocate to yet, what they're going to do. And so by us stepping in, it allows them to save a little bit of money up and really start working on what's the plan? Where are they going? Some of them know, but there's a lot of them that don't, and they need a little bit more time in the house to figure that out. So who kind of qualifies for the short sales? Really anyone that can be identified as a distressed property owner, right? So COVID is impacting that. Somebody that, because they've lost a job or their hours have gone down or they were temporarily laid off for a certain amount of time. There's a lot of variations. Yeah. People get divorced, and when they bought the home, they were a 2-income household. Now they're a 1. Death of a loved one, job loss, which really plays hand in hand really now with COVID, unfortunately. Yep. But people that have done bankruptcy, had medical issues, any type of major life changes, and then being upside down, right? Homes not being worth. And right now we're not seeing values affected, right? But
we will. I mean, if we start to see foreclosures jump up 3, 4, 5, 10 times what they currently are right now, which will absolutely happen, it's going to impact values, right? Yeah. Why are values so high right now? When we did the little haves and wants or whatever, when we first started out tonight, there were 3 different examples of deals. They were really cool deals. I'm glad that you guys do that because you get to see in real life what's happening in your market. But I think every person said that they had sold, for over list and within a few days of putting them on the market.
5 days, $22,000 over, I think was one of them.
Yeah. And so that is the way that things are happening right now. But what happens when there's 5 or 10 times the amount of available homes on the market? Then the reason why it's high right now is because the amount of properties that are for sale versus the amount of people that are looking to buy a property is significantly disproportionate, right? Their inventory is low, amount of buyers is high. So that drives prices up and keeps prices high. What happens when 5 times as many properties come on the market and now there's more properties available than there are buyers? People have to lower their price to try to absorb the difference. So that, if you study history and you study what happened the last time this go around happened, then you kind of start to get an idea to know what's coming, right?
Absolutely. So I want to jump into the marketing side of this and educate you guys on how do we find the data, right? What marketing should you be sending out? How should you be marketing to these people? But I want you to all commit to creating consistency in your business. In order to do that, you have to become an expert at marketing, and you become a master of separating yourself from your competition. And this is one of those strategies that it makes it very easy to stand out from the competition, because that's not where everyone's at right now. That's not even where everyone will be at when we start seeing the filings increase a lot. And I have never gotten a phone call from a homeowner that said, "Hey, Rachel, I know you sent over your purchase contract, but I got a higher offer, so I'm going to go with them on one of my short sales." Or I've never had the phone call of, "Yeah, you can come over, but I've got 3 other people that I'm going to be meeting this week too." Because the beauty of pre-foreclosures and doing these short sales is your purchase price has no
Impact to the seller.
in a sense, right?
Yeah.
They don't financially benefit in any
No
way.
matter what we pay.
No matter what we pay, they don't financially benefit. If they were to ever get any money, it's a large sum of money that they would receive, and it's bank approved. That's the only way that they get it.
Because they don't financially benefit, they're not playing the game that your probate sellers are playing, that your every other investing strategy type is playing of, well, I'm going to let everybody come through here, and the person who gives me the highest offer is who I'm going to go with.
Right.
We don't deal with that here because it doesn't matter to them. What the amount of money that they're getting doesn't matter. So this becomes a first person to the customer wins game above anything else. And so when Rachel talks about the marketing being so important, we're going to show you guys some really, really cool marketing strategies to put you in front of the people, put you in front of the sellers in ways that nobody's probably ever taught before. I hope we teach you guys some stuff tonight. And when we have more time with you, that makes your phone ring in a way that you're not even used to. I mean, that's helping you reach the sellers that everyone else isn't reaching. We constantly teach buying houses at 60% of after repair value minus repairs. And everywhere we go, somebody will come up and say, well, you can't do that in this market. And I respectfully say, well, no, you can't do this in that market because you're marketing to the same people that everyone else is marketing to. Let's figure out a way to reach people in a different way, in a better way, so that we can get in front of sellers that everyone else isn't in front of. So that's what we want to share with you.
So how we find this data, a great thing for us is that foreclosures are public knowledge. And so I want to be clear, do not call down, and it's at the county courthouse, right? It's Recorder of Deeds is where you find this information. Do not call them and ask them for their foreclosure list, because they are going to tell you that that does not exist, right? They don't produce a list. They're not data providers, but that is where the data sits, and we all can gain access to it because it's public knowledge. And so going down to the Recorder of Deeds may be the way that you're able to pull this data. There are some other easier ways that most counties that we can access this data, but I am a huge fan of going directly to the source. I will go or pay someone to be at the courthouse every single day if that is the only way that I can gain access to this information, because by the time it passes through a third party, especially for us that sit in these non-judicial states and we've got a quick, fast timeline, we've lost too many days of being able to make contact and get over to the property, get the documents, and get things submitted up to the bank to stop this foreclosure sale date, which is our number one task after we leave their house. And so every day is crucial for me. So we need to identify, and we'll talk about this a lot at the 2-day where we go in depth on what are the actual filings that you need to be pulling. And so
we'll even show you a live example. We'll go into like our county registry, because I just did this with a coaching student the other day who I told them exactly what they needed to do. They came back to me and said, my county doesn't do it like that. We can't get it. And so on a Zoom call like this, we did a screen share, and I had never seen their county website ever before, but I've helped enough people through this to know it's there somewhere. We just got to dig. And we were able, in real time with them on the phone with me, I found their county. We did the date range search exactly like you teach it. We were able to pull up the date range. We were able to see the different filing types and what they were told didn't exist and what they could not find. I'm not saying look at me, but we were able to find it in 5 or 10 minutes. So when we have a couple of days with you, Rachel can pull that up and kind of show you in
Walk
real
you
time
through that side
how
of
we
it.
do these searches.
Absolutely. And so a lot of these courthouses now are set up for online access. So you pay a monthly fee or an annual fee, very minimal subscription service fee. And now we can access the information online and no one has to go down to the courthouse. There are many of them, and the more rural areas I see where you might have to physically go down to the courthouse, but that's not generally the norm. And now from the COVID impact and them being shut down and no one being able to gain access, we're seeing more and more. Like I have students that market a lot in some rural areas outside their metropolitan. And in the last, month or so, they're now able to start accessing the data that they couldn't get in February because you could only go to the courthouse to get it, is now available for them online, which is a benefit because it saves time, right? It also allows us to be able to outsource it to a VA, and now we're no longer responsible, or a local assistant, we're no longer responsible for getting that information. So online access, most of them are going to have that. You're going to ask that question, is there an online, do you have a website that is a direct connection to the courthouse that these filings are in? And if they don't, there's also some counties that will use a legal newspaper. And that sounds kind of ancient, but they do. We market to 2 counties of the 5, and they still use a legal newspaper that comes out to us once a week.
More rural counties sometimes still do that. Yep.
Yeah, but we've also had some that in the last year or so have converted to online access. The one thing I want to talk to you about before we go on to actually looking at what's the marketing blueprint is the way that you're going to market. You need to market, you need to be pulling your data every single day on foreclosures, especially when you're in a non-judicial state, because our clock is ticking so quickly. This is a daily data pull that we need to be doing. And you may have some of your counties that they only report weekly or bi-weekly. So it's not statewide that they're all going to follow the same rule. It will be different for every single county. So you need to verify that. Is this information put in every day? Is it put in every week? Is it every 2 weeks? So you know when you should be filing. I want to do it every day because I want to be the first person to be able to reach out to these homeowners, because I know that drastically increases my ability to be able to get over to their property and get a signed purchase contract. So being first is key with this.
And Rachel and I will teach you guys some really cool strategies so that we can have a VA or someone else that's pulling this data, that's doing some of this work while you're at your full-time job and you're not stressing about this. I don't want you to look at it and be like, gosh, I got to pull this data every day. That's not how you scale a business. That's not how you work 4 hours a week or 4 hours a day, 3 or 4 days a week. I get it. Because that's the wrong way to do it. That's one of the biggest mistakes that newer investors make, is they put themselves in every spot on the assembly line and then they get frustrated and overwhelmed and say, this is too much. Let's do it right from the beginning. We'll give you some really cool, easy tools that you can implement so that this stuff can be done for you very inexpensively while you're at your full-time job, or while you're, even if you're a full-time real estate investor.
Right. Along with a lot of your marketing pieces too. But I'll also tell you that if that's what it takes in the beginning in order to get it done, then do it.
Yeah, that's right.
You do whatever it takes in order to get you there. And so I want to get into the actual marketing blueprint. What are we going to do, right? We've pulled the data. We have our leads. Now, how are we going to communicate with them? And I'm showing you this picture of Jen Green, her husband, Dan, and Jason and I. We met Jen 2018, summer of 2018, and we started working with her in a one-on-one relationship. Yeah. And Jen has just done some really incredible things with her short sale business. She's really just built that so well. And
never done real estate investing before in her life. Yep.
Yeah, never done real estate investing in her life. But she knew that she needed a blueprint. She got it. And she actually followed it. You'll see her at our boot camps when we can do those live again, or anywhere. We've interviewed her on our podcast, and she's always asked the question, how did you experience so much success with this? And she said, it's easy. I followed this blueprint. That's all I did. I took massive action on the blueprint and I followed it to a T. And she works with, so she markets to 5 different counties. Every month she averages about 90 different filings, right? So this is 90 new leads that she gets per month. With 90 new leads, she's able to maintain a pipeline of about 15 deals at any given time. You know, that's the thing. This is a pipeline game. So you're always filling it up. You're always going on homeowner appointments and getting the next one in because you're going to close deals, and some of them are going to go to foreclosure, but we're only focused on putting in the new business and closing on what we were able to successfully work out through a short sale, right? But so she's been doing them for about a year because she started out with a different investing strategy that we teach. But in a little less than 12 months, she's closed 9 short sales. And through that, she did a post on this that in 30 days time, in a month, she made more in 1 month than she had made an entire year at her previous job before she got into real estate investing, which that's that big like aha, right? That it's amazing what you can do in such a short amount of time when you commit to it and you follow what has proven success record of working, and all you have to do is duplicate it, right? And so I love sharing her story, but she did such a phenomenal job with taking it and quickly implementing it and going to work. And some of this she started out doing on her own, and she closed that first deal and brought somebody else in, or she invested money in it. You do this however you can financially set it up, but just because you don't
on this call have the ability to hire an assistant or something right now, or hire a virtual assistant for $3 or $4 an hour. Most of you do. Some of you on here are on a shoestring budget and you're going to have to do more of this yourself. That's fine. I mean, you heard where we were when we started. I can promise you it was Rachel and I, her at her house with her family, me at my house with mine, broke, not knowing what the heck we were going to do, handwriting envelopes, licking envelopes, stuffing envelopes, licking
pulling
stamps,
data, skip tracing. We did it all ourselves.
All of it, until we could scale it up and start to pull ourselves out of it. So you work with the resources that you have, right? Now, today, if we were to start that business over, we would put those things in place right off the bat. We would never put ourselves on the assembly line. So it just kind of depends where you are with resources. Either way is okay.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about a marketing blueprint, okay? Right. This is super important. So I want you guys to write this stuff down. I know we got to move. And I want you to also, what the hell?
Well,
okay,
there you go.
Number one thing that we have to do, right, is pull the data. When we're talking about a marketing blueprint, we have to be consistent with that data pull. There was one of the big reasons we did 111 deals our first year is because we got to be the first one to the customer every time. So whether you outsource this or do it yourself, the daily pulling of this data is going to be very, very important because we want to be the first one in these different avenues that we're going to teach. Number two thing that I want you guys to do is skip trace. Some of you on here don't know what that means. This was an idea, not even a lot of people teach this, some people more now, but coming from the collection industry, this is where we learned skip trace, not from real estate investing, but in the collection world, when Discover Card sent us an account and I called them to see if they wanted to pay their bill or cuss me out or
whatever they felt like, yeah.
But I would call them, and if the number was disconnected, it's like, okay, what do we do now? They owe Discover Card $6,500. They don't want us to give up. They hired us to collect this money. I would send that account over to our skip trace department, and our skip trace department utilized several different online programs to track people down. It's also what medical billing companies use to find people. It's what are those people called that find people for you?
Like private investigators?
Yeah, like a private investigator. Yeah, like
it's what anybody uses.
Anybody uses to find somebody. So what we can find through this, we can find alternate phone numbers. We can find alternate addresses. We can find email addresses. Sometimes we can find their social media links. So this gives us some really cool ways to market to these people. Remember, 95+% of your investor competition is doing direct mail and direct mail only. Not saying that there's anything wrong with direct mail, it works. But at the end of the day, direct mail has a 1 to 2% response rate on a good day. So I want to teach you some things that you can do to get that response rate up into the 10, 15% range. You want to talk about ringless voicemail? Yeah.
Ringless voicemail is another thing that we utilize all the time. It is such a valuable resource. And so your RIA may even do this, but it's really just a pre-recorded message, and you put it, and then you import phone numbers into the system, and it blasts that message out to however many numbers you want it to push out to. A lot of them have some restrictions in regards to how long your message needs to be, normally 30, maybe 45 seconds. And so you want to stay within that time frame. But this is a way for you to reach people, to reach hundreds of people with a touch of a button. It's really
Super
that
cool.
easy. You can set up a Sly Broadcast, record your message, have it, if Sly Broadcast is the ringless voicemail platform that you choose to use, and you can pre-record your message, import those numbers. You could have that done in 20 to 30 minutes from starting to finishing, and be ready to blast. Yeah. And be ready to blast that out to everybody and anybody. The one thing I really love about this, besides the fact that it allows you to reach hundreds of people, it also generates reports. And so it will show you how many people it was able to leave a message
Good phone
for,
numbers, disconnected numbers,
and if there was any pause. And so, to be clear, this is when you look down at your phone and you're like, oh, I got a voicemail. My phone never even rang. That's what a ringless voicemail is, right? And you're checking it because you're like, my phone didn't ring. That's weird. Who is this? And then you listen to the message. We are going to talk to you about the right messaging to use. Messaging in your marketing is imperative.
This either works or it doesn't work.
Yes.
When you do this right, this one strategy in and of itself can pull a 10% response rate. I can give you probably 40 coaching students that Rachel and I work with on a one-on-one basis every month across this country that utilize this and pull a minimum 10%. You just did a test one the other day that got
23%.
23% response rate.
I've been running it for about 45 days and tracking that, and it's holding. I mean, it goes up and down, but it's holding pretty strong. That's its average.
Insane, the difference of 23% response rate compared to a 1% response rate. It's night and day. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars in profit on a yearly basis difference. So I want you guys to pay attention to that. But it all 100% comes down to the message that you leave. And 99% of people get this wrong the first time. And they say, why isn't this working? Nobody's called me back. And we say, hey, did you do this, 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 and this? And they say, yeah, I did. And I say, send me your recording. And it's like, nope, you didn't do any of those things. So when we have some more time with you, we'll spend probably an hour on this at our 2-day. We'll tell you what to say. We'll tell you how it needs to be said and how to frame this message so that you get return phone calls.
Absolutely. And so the next thing I want to talk about is Facebook. This is one that I was really hesitant to. I was not a fan of Facebook. It wasn't something that I was interested in.
If you find Rachel or I on Facebook, you will see that Rachel didn't even have a Facebook account up until
a few years ago.
Years ago.
I had some students that did a competition, and they were trying to see who could get the most amount of deals under contract within 30 days. And the winner secured 13 along with a hard money or a private lender whale, which was awesome. I'm like, man, this is the time where I can see the need for a social media platform, right? To really be able to show people what's possible when you're committed and you're laser focused on your goal, right?
That was kind of at a time in the market. That was several years ago. That was kind of at a time in the market when a lot of people were saying there's no deals right now. There's no deals. Everybody's got to pay too much money and nobody can get deals. And that was a big part of why you said, man, I would love to be able to blast this out to all the people who are saying there's no deals. And this guy got 13 and this guy got 9 and this guy got 11. You know, I mean, the deals are there.
So then they secretly set me up one and now I'm on, right? So I was able to do my post. I got my wish. But this is, for those of you that are a little bit against it, I'm not asking you to put your political views, religious views, or your opinion on everything on there. But for your business, we have never been able to reach people the way that we can today because of technology, right? And the social platforms that have been created. This has to be a part of your business. You have to put this in there. 7 out of 10 internet users are on Facebook. I bet that's actually a little bit higher because this is probably from about a year ago. And then 75% of those people, they are on their Facebook every single day.
Crazy.
And so why would we not find them on Facebook and send them a private message? We're not putting anything on their main page. We're not here to embarrass anybody or let the whole world know that they're facing foreclosure, but there's nothing wrong with us sending them a private message to say, hey, I got some questions for you about the house. I can help you out. Give me a call back. Let me see what I can do for you. And the reason that we're not just relying on, this is layered marketing, and we're doing all of this at the same time. I don't wait for them to get my ringless voicemail before I send them the Facebook message. The way our system works is you're pulling the data, you skip trace it. I want my ringless voicemail scheduled right away. I want the Facebook message posted and sent out right now in real life time today, because I don't care how I make contact with them. And I can't predict what their preferred way of communication is. And so I'm going to try them all. That's what marketing's all about, is trying every single avenue that you possibly can reach out to someone on, and seeing their way that they like to be communicated with, and that yields you a response. That is your only goal.
We will show you how we find the people on Facebook,
Yes.
and we'll show you what to say to them and all that stuff. I don't want to, like I said, we're giving you as much value as we possibly can in 90 minutes. We got 30 more minutes. We got a ton more stuff to teach you. Just don't freak out. Know that we're going to teach you the rest of the stuff. We're going to show you what to say. We're going to show you how to find them. We want you to understand the concept and why it works.
Right. Email is another, right?
That's right.
Avenue that you need to be using. Skip tracing will give you multiple email addresses. Throw all those email addresses in an autoresponder and let it just push out. I don't care if 3 of the 5 I found are no longer active. That's all right. If 2 of them are still ones you're operating off of, that's an opportunity for me to be able to make contact with you, right?
Absolutely. Well, we still recommend mail. I'm not bad mouthing mail. I think part of why this works is because, again, this is a recipe, and when you change ingredients in the recipe, you can get a totally different cake. And so this is why I want you guys to pay attention to this. I want you to dive deeper with this so that we can show you what all these different messages need to say, because that is the recipe that works. Rachel and I have literally spent millions of dollars in marketing over the last 20 years. And what happens when you spend that kind of money is you make a lot of mistakes. And when you make a lot of mistakes, you get to figure out faster what works and what doesn't. This doesn't work. New approach. Try it again. This doesn't work. New approach. Try it again. This worked better. New approach. Try it again until you dial something down that works and works consistently really well. And that's what we have refined down over years and years of doing this, is what really works. Now, I'm not saying you won't come up with something that works better. What I'm saying is we've already spent the time and the money and the energy to figure out, to go through all the things that don't work. And we've come up with what works big time in a really, really big way. Just copy it. Just copy it exactly how it is and implement it that way so that you know that you're going to get the result. Eliminate the variables. That's one of the best advice I can give you in business, is copy a plan that's working and eliminate the variables when it doesn't work until you dial it down into what does. If you follow this blueprint, it will work for you.
Right. Well, and there's, the letters are something that kind of seem insignificant, I think, to some people, but man, it's important that you know how to write that letter to speak to somebody that probably feels like their whole world is crashing down right now, right? And so what type of letter is even going to separate me from all the other mail that they're getting? People who are behind on their mortgage, they're behind generally on a whole lot of other stuff. So you can imagine the mail.
We can pay cash and close quick doesn't appeal to the person who's losing their home. So don't send that.
Yeah. And so it's important to know that messaging. It's important that that envelope look completely different than everything else that they get. All of our envelopes are handwritten. They've got a stamp on them, never using a postage meter. I want it to have a personal feel. So they see where my intent is here, right? Because really, I just need them to open it. That's the whole goal of that envelope. And that's not going in the trash pile, right? Let's talk about inbound, outbound calls. This is, I always love it when we're live because we get to really see who's making outbound calls currently in their business. And normally it's the movers and shakers in the room.
Normally we can say how many people in this room are doing at least 5 deals a month, and people will raise their hand. And then we say how many people in this room are making outbound phone calls consistently, have that component in their business. And everybody who raised their hand that was doing at least 5 deals a month is also raising their hand to this. So again, follow success. Success leaves clues. Do what the people who are succeeding at a really high level are doing, and you'll get a very similar result. Our first 50 deals that Rachel and I closed came from making outbound phone calls. 50. First 50 deals that we did came from outbound calls. You want to know why? Because we didn't even have money to send direct mail. There were 150 foreclosure filings a day. If mail costs you about $1 a piece, that's $150 a day, which was $149 more than I had. So that wasn't an option for us in the beginning. We had to call people. We had to reach out to them. Now, I know some of you are automatically cringing, saying, "Oh God, I don't want to call. I don't want to be that person." I want to encourage you to change your frame of reference. All right, we are not calling to sell Kirby vacuum cleaners or whatever. Right? we're calling to see what we can do to help. When I was losing my house to foreclosure, if somebody would have called me or sent me a marketing piece or knocked on my door and said, hey, I'm just here to see, I saw that your house was coming up for foreclosure sale here in the next couple of weeks, and I was just stopping by to see what I could do to help you. I'm able to help a lot of people in your situation, and I wanted to see if you knew what your options were. I would have been like, no, I don't. And
What are they?
Thank God you're here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So this isn't a sales call. This isn't something that I know that some of us are, kind of cringe when we think about making calls. That's because we're thinking about ourselves. We're being, I'm not saying we're being selfish, but we are kind of selfish people sometimes. And take yourself outside of yourself and think about, what could I do to help this person? Or better yet, what happens if I don't call? What happens to the family with the 3 kids that have nowhere to go and they're 7 days away from foreclosure sale? What happens if I don't call them? I'll tell you what happens. Their stuff gets drug out into the street and they have nowhere to go. And people steal their stuff, and it's bad, bad, bad. And we're going to see a lot of that. We're going to see a lot of that real soon. And so I want to encourage you to really think about approaching this with the mindset of, what can I do to help this person? I'm just going to call and see what I can do to help them. And when you approach it with that heart and you really, really mean
Intent,
it, the call becomes significantly easier. Then just follow our property questionnaire, follow our script, and roll through the rest of it. But if you approach it in the beginning, it won't be as scary. And for any of you guys that participate in our 2-day training, I want you to bring your leads. We want you to start doing your marketing now. And then when we have our 2-day in
August,
at the end of August, I want you guys to have some leads, because every time we've done a live event for the last 10 years, I take the leads and I call them live from the front of the room, and people walk up and they bring me their leads. We dial their number on the cell phone and I call them on speaker and I close their deals for them. So I want to do the same thing for you guys, even though it may be virtually. We can do the same thing. Start your marketing now. I'll make the calls.
Never have it on here. And I think for some of you guys that are even already investing, this might be a little bit of a wake-up call for you, right? This might be that, oh man, I should be doing this differently, right? I'm not making the time for this. But there's a Harvard business study that was done. And in regards to inbound calls, you're 21 times more likely to make contact if you call back within the first 5 minutes. And so many times I go on a homeowner appointment and, I secure that deal. And at the end of it, I'm like, what made you call me? Did you hear from anyone else, or did you just hear from me? And this is on all my marketing across the board, because I kind of want to know what motivated them to make contact with me. And too often I hear, you were the only one that answered the phone or called me back. That cannot happen. If someone has taken the time to reach out to you, as investors, like, that's our responsibility. We have got to be on the phone. We have to push through that uncomfortableness and get comfortable with. Google if you want to see this study, but it's a Harvard business study done on sales calls, right? The other side of this is outbound phone calls. And there are some of you that are so comfortable making an outbound call, it is no big deal. That is him. He loves doing those live calls. He doesn't even know your name, and he's calling like you're his partner. And getting a homeowner appointment, and it works, and that's awesome. But that's not how everyone is. I will do the calls because I know that it is necessary for my business, but it is not my favorite thing to do. But you have to push through that, right? And so we just want to share with you, if you need to make a real estate investing schedule on what days are you doing what tasks, because if you leave it up in the air, it's not going to get done like it's supposed to. And so it's imperative that you be working off of a schedule. And so the best days to make contact is Wednesday and Thursday. Best times of day for you to be calling is 8 and 9 a.m. and 4 to 6 p.m. So put those
That doesn't
down
mean
and
that's
schedule.
the only days you can call. It just
Right.
means those are the highest. After that Harvard study, that was the highest probability chance.
Yeah, and you already talked about this. Like you'll have a property questionnaire. The questions that we ask somebody that's in a foreclosure situation is completely different than any other investing strategy that we do.
We'll
And
go
so
over
we'll
the door
show
tags
you.
and the door knocking part. We got 10 more minutes, so
Yeah.
I want to make sure that we give as much as we can, and we got some more slides. You
Yeah.
want to talk about Matt and Tina real quick and kind of?
I do.
The building of your team is super, super important with this, and so I want to make sure that we give you guys that part tonight of how to build this team that's going to help you be successful with short sales, because it's not like other investing strategies.
Yeah, and one thing that Matt and Tina did with their outbound calls from year 1 to year 2 speaks for itself. And so these guys they're in Wisconsin market, right? We've been working with them it's crazy, like since 2015. But when first started working with them, they have 4 kids. They both worked 60-hour plus IT jobs. And they're just busy, right? Like a lot of us, like life was just really busy for them. And they made a commitment that they were going to make real estate investing work. It was something that they had spent a lot of time getting education, and now it was time to take action, right? To put that other piece of the puzzle in there. And year 1, they closed 4 deals, which 4 deals, I mean, I'll take 4 deals any day of the week. Like that's not bad, all while you're juggling everything else. You know, they spent their evenings and their lunch breaks getting their marketing out and talking to homeowners.
And self-admittedly, I think they kind of questioned whether or not it would work for them. And you know what I mean?
They were in a good position. They didn't need
need
money.
it. Yep.
Yeah. You know, good is the enemy of great, right? We've all heard that. And that's, for some of us, it makes it hard for us to take that action side of it. But with those 4 deals, they were able to become completely debt-free. They paid off the rest of their house. They were able to both go out and get new vehicles. I think they even bought a rental.
For cash.
Yeah, and paid cash for it. And so those 4 deals were a game changer. And what it did most importantly is it allowed them to know that this is real, that this really can happen. If you take this blueprint and you implement it and you take the time and you shift your schedule around and you're busy and tired more than you'd really ever want to be, but that in-game benefit is sitting in there for you.
And it's not a 10-year in-game benefit.
Yeah,
You
it's
know
a
what I mean?
short-term sacrifice.
When we sat down with them, I remember this clear as day. They said, we want to be out of corporate America in 5 years. And Rachel and I laughed at them because everyone says 5 years and there is no significance. Time is not the factor of why you're still stuck at your corporate America job. It's money, it's finances, right? It's never a time equation, it's a money equation. And if we can figure out how to make the amount of money that you need to quit your job, there is no timetable. If we could do it in a day, if you won the lottery, you could quit, right? If we can teach you how to build a real estate investing business that in a year you're able to pay your house off, your cars off, and become completely debt free. Debt is what is keeping us in our corporate America, right? It's the fear of how am I going to make my mortgage payment? How am I going to pay the car payment? When those things are all gone, how much does it really take? You know what I mean? How much does it really take to keep going and to be alive? It's not that much. It's our debt that keeps us chained to that.
Yeah. And so after they had that social proof, right? 4 deals, man, what a game changer for our life. We had already started their job elimination plan, and Matt left within 18 months. Year 2 of investing.
And he had been there 15, 16 years.
20 something. Yeah. They're both seasoned at their company. Yeah. And they had made the commitment to level up, right? They were going to get comfortable being uncomfortable, and they were going to hammer the phones. They were going to make every outbound call. They were going to return every single inbound response, and with a quickness as fast as they possibly could. They would employ a call service center if they needed to, whatever they had to do. And then he left that job, which then also helped, because now that 60 hours he was dedicating to build someone else's dream, he was now able to put into their dream. They closed 23 deals year 2 of their investing, and it's been game over for them ever since then. Now they own probably
Tina quit her job.
Yeah.
They've become
couple hundred doors.
They've become multimillionaires in the last 5 years from following our blueprint. And I'm not taking credit for them. They took our blueprint, they ran with it, they implemented it, they changed their lives, and then they started creating. If you guys come to one of our boot camps, they teach now at some of the things that they have created and done that have worked really well.
Right.
So super, super cool story.
Yeah, those first 4 deals were all short sales. About half of the 23 that they did were all short sales. And they did this, they get about 30 new leads per month in their small little,
Small
market
town
that they
yeah.
live in. And that's them kind of
Appleton,
expanding.
Wisconsin area.
But to this day, they still average a pipeline of about 10 deals in it at any given time. They're moving around, but that's their average, 10 deals in the pipeline. Us that are in bigger markets, imagine what we can do with something like that, but you got to be committed to that marketing process, right? And they quickly knew they had to build a team. I want to talk about this quickly because this is something that you guys need to be aware of, that when we do short sales, we've got to create some separation, right? We have to do arm's length transactions, meaning that we can't have too many related parties. And so these are just a few of the key team members, but these are some of the, I don't want to say the most important, but you need to know about a couple of these right away, which number one, you're going to need a real estate agent. The lenders require that you have this property on MLS and that you use a state specific contract. And so we need a licensed real estate agent on our team that understands our short sale business. And we're going to go through at that 2-day how to vet them, how to know if they're a good fit, and all the different ways that you're going to utilize them in your business. But they're a key part of this.
It's an important part of being part of your membership.
Your
RIA,
absolutely.
Is being able to network. There's probably, I would imagine, probably 20-30% of the people on this call have their real estate license. So network.
There's your agent.
Somebody.
Yeah.
Create your agent. We'll go in, we'll spend a couple hours on this on our 2-day of how to create your own realtor, from being able to send an assistant to real estate school. There's some really easy ways to make this happen, but at the end of the day, you have to have that agent.
Yeah. And I bring this up to only point out that you can't be the buyer and the real estate agent in a short sale transaction. The bank looks at that as you're too closely related. And so that will be someone that you need on the team, a negotiator. Some of you guys are going to take on negotiations on your own, and I'm going to teach you so many things about negotiations that's going to help you so much. But if you don't want to play that role, there are many people out there that do short sale negotiations that you can outsource that. You can go in.
But you need to know how to vet them, because this can absolutely destroy your deal. I can't tell you how many times I've had deals with students where they hired a third-party negotiator. And I don't mean any disrespect towards real estate agents at all, but a realtor that says, I've done 50 short sales means absolutely nothing to me. And here's why. If they haven't negotiated deals for investors and they've just negotiated retail price short sale deals, essentially all that's happening, they didn't technically negotiate the short sale. They faxed up a purchase offer that happened to match the BPO price, and anybody can get that. I'm not discrediting them. I'm just saying that anybody can get that approved.
It's a different skill set.
When we're negotiating for 60 cents on the dollar and making $100,000 profits, it's a different process. It's a different skill set all the way around. So we want to find a negotiator that understands this. We'll show you how to do that. I need to shut up so we can keep teaching.
Yeah. Well, and I want to talk just a quick second about homeowner appointments, because today it is a little bit different. Some people, some of us, we're extremely concerned and we don't want people in our personal space, and to each their own, right? We've got to respect where people are at, but that doesn't mean we press the pause button in our investing business. We've got to find the workaround for it. And so to conduct a homeowner appointment during this COVID situation that we're in, you've got many options. We've done Zoom homeowner appointments, FaceTime, Facebook even has a way that you can like Skype call with, virtually call, and they can walk you around and see the property. And some people we've said, hey, would you be comfortable? I know that you don't want to be in the house together, and I completely understand that, but I'll wear my mask if I get there. If you want to step out, I'll do my walkthrough, and then we can talk more outside, socially distanced, and work through this. So there are ways around you still being able to view properties, whether that's virtual or in person. And if it's virtual, you can easily put a clause in the contract that says prior to closing, a lot of states have actually put a COVID clause into their purchase contracts already. But if they haven't, you can easily say house must be viewed prior to closing, right? The documents can get collected through email and setting up a phone call. You just need to be creative.
A lot of these houses are vacant now too. The homeowners
Some of them
moved
are,
out.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a good percentage of them are. So You can get in that house, you can view the property, you can do e-sign docs. We'll cover this more in detail, but don't let COVID be an excuse as to why you can't do these deals. Let it be as an excuse as to why you can.
Right. And you find the solution for the homeowner. If they're uncomfortable, it's our responsibility to find out around this. So we're at the homeowner appointment, right? We've done our marketing. We followed the blueprint the way that we know that we're supposed to. And we need more than just a purchase contract with a short sale transaction. And so this is where we need to know a little bit more. And I will actually walk you through every single document that you need, explain it to you. You can ask questions in regards to it. For those of you that do sign up for it, we're going to give you the documents that you need as well. So you'll be completely prepared for a homeowner appointment. You've just got to fill in your state specific purchase contract and your listing contract. But this is one of these strategies where disclosure is extremely important. And so we've got some company protection documents for you guys. I'm going to show you how to do your HUD settlement statement because we need one of those for submission.
Yeah, this is the only type of strategy that you have to fill out a HUD settlement statement on your own and submit it to the lender. So you got to know how to do that or they won't accept your file.
Yeah, we've got certain homeowner documents that we need to collect, and we want to be able, there's a way to ask for these and let them know it's not us that needs it, but the same way that you had to get approved when you purchased this property and got the bank loan, we also need to be able to provide that same document so they can see that this isn't some type of strategic default, that you really have come and encountered some type of hardship that has financially impacted you. And the way we do that is they need paycheck stubs, bank statements, federal tax returns, a hardship letter, letters of explanations. And I'm going to show you examples of good letters of explanations, good examples of hardship letters, and then what to do for someone that doesn't have a paycheck stub because maybe they're not working or they have some other source of income.
This is the part that gets people's deals killed. And I don't have time to elaborate on it because we're running out of time, but pay stubs, it's not just pay stubs. It's 30 days, most recent pay stubs that are current right now. Bank statements, it's the last 2 months bank statements, signed, stamped, every page, even if the page is blank. Like there's a lot to learn. Even that looks simple up there, pay stubs, bank statements, but there's a reason why everyone says short sales are difficult or hard. And this is the main reason why they say this, because they don't submit accurate, clean files with the way the lender needs it. And so the lender automatically kicks the file out and declines it. We'll show you exactly the way that it needs to go so that doesn't happen, because the most important part of this process is getting the foreclosure sale date stopped.
Right.
And if we can't get the sale stopped, we can't do the deal. You guys are non-judicial like we are here in Missouri. Yep. We're a 21-day state, which means it's 21 days from the day that foreclosure is filed until the day that they no longer have a place to live. That's how short the timeline is. I don't know that you guys are quite that short, but being a non-judicial state means it's significantly shorter than it is in a judicial state. So you've got to do this stopping the foreclosure process correctly, or you're not going to have a deal to do. So do you want to just, can we talk about that real quick? Do you want to just run through the stopping the foreclosure part, or did I cover enough of that?
Yeah, you covered it. I mean, that's your number one task when you get in there, and we're going to show you the ways, what that process is. How do you talk to them? What kind of request are you putting in? How do you escalate that file to kind of move up that chain a little bit? At sometimes you're going to have to, in order to get it stopped, they're going to want to come out and do an evaluation of the property, and that will be a BPO, which is a broker price opinion, which is generally a property evaluation that is done by a licensed appraiser or licensed real estate agent. Sometimes they'll order appraisals. They've got interior and exterior versions of this. And so we need to make sure that they just didn't drive by the house and say, oh, this house is worth $350,000. And they didn't take the time to go inside the house and really see that it is a wreck and this house is probably really worth $200,000, right? And so that's part of our responsibility. And I'll tell you, if this is the one part of this that you have to attend, whether you outsource your negotiations or not.
This is the most important part to learn in the entire short sale, everything that we teach. And we'll spend a couple hours, 2 or 3 hours on the BPO and appraisal process. And here's why, because what they determine this property value to be, you get to buy the property for a certain percentage of that number. So there is a way to morally, legally, and ethically influence the person who's, as crazy as this sounds, here's the deal. Remember, no bearing on what they owe on the property. What the bearing comes from is whatever that BPO agent, which on average they get paid about $50 to do this, which is mind-blowing to me, that on a $500,000 asset or a $200,000 asset, they're trusting the value to a $50 process. Crazy, but it's the reality. And this is why we're able to make so much money on these deals, is because the values can be all over the place. Whatever that BPO agent tells the bank the property is worth, we get to buy it for a certain percentage less than that value. So we want to equip you with the strategies on how to morally, legally, ethically influence that number down to a number that makes sense for us as an investor. This is how we're creating our margin. So we want to spend a couple hours on exactly how that process goes, how to bring comps to them, how to get
what's the package?
a repair
checklist?
bid,
Yeah.
the checklist, the whole bit.
Yeah.
So
and you're not ordering this BPO or appraisal. I get that question all the time. This is when you're working with the bank. This is something they take care of, but you're part of it, right? They're going to do the scheduling of that with you. And this is the most important part of this short sale transaction.
Yep. So I'm gonna skip to the end here because we've got more slides, but we don't have more time to teach. So there's one more thing that I kind of wanted to talk about that I think is super important. And I want to give you a reminder of, guys, this is the time right now. This isn't some stupid sales pitch. I mean this. Hopefully you guys have seen. I mean, we were pretty raw and honest with where our position was the last time the market was like this. I mean, I shared with you my Chapter 7 bankruptcy, for God's sake. I'm not that guy. I mean this from the bottom of my heart, that this is an opportunity right now that has been different than any opportunity, in my opinion, that we've seen in the last 10 years. Period, end of story. Our team is gearing up right now to rebuild and really start to put a ton of time and energy back into the short sale stuff, because the amount of filings are going to go up by 5 or 10%. There is going to be 5 or 10 times, not percent. There is going to be a landslide of properties that become available, whether it's multifamily, whether it's single family, no matter what it is. And that time is right now. I really want you guys to take advantage of this. So I want to talk a little bit about what our 2-day looks like. And Rachel and I are big proponents. We spend a lot of money on our own education. We go to a lot of different events. We pay a lot of our money. Sometimes it's absolutely fantastic and sometimes it's not. And so we have worked really, really hard to make sure that we over deliver 100% of the time. I hope you guys felt like this presentation tonight was awesome. Yeah, I hope we covered a ton of really cool stuff for you. But let me talk about what this 2-day looks like. So number one, we're going to give you guys a ticket to our 2-day short sale immersion virtual event, which is on August 28th and 29th. So a month and a half from now.
Yeah.
We're going to also give you our pre-foreclosure short sale marketing course, our whole training that we normally do. I mean, we've traveled around the United States over the years and sold this training for a whole lot more than what we're even going to talk about this tonight. And we don't normally include the actual course. When I say course, it's all the letters, it's all the scripts, it's every single marketing piece, it's every single bit of what you need to, there it is, all the email campaigns, all the letters, the Facebook script, the voicemail script, every single thing. When I talked about a blueprint, that's why we called this REI blueprint, because I am not the super analytical step-by-step need to know step 7 before I start step 1, but this one is. And our team worked relentlessly to give a step-by-step, what do I do at 8 a.m. on Monday? What do I do at 9 a.m. on Monday? What needs to happen in this business on a daily basis in order to make this work? That's what we built out. So it's very easy for you to follow. Our short sale negotiation package. So all of our documents to collect from the homeowner, the documents that you need to have the homeowner sign. I would venture to say we are every bit of $10,000, $15,000 of our own money and what we've spent to create the documentation that we're going to give to you in this package that you can use in your own business. Our criteria to vet and build your own rockstar short sale team. So when we talk about how do you know what title company to use, it's not like a normal real estate transaction. You can't just go to the title company that you met, at a networking event. There are certain things that you need to do in order to vet them. We're going to teach you that part. Our negotiation tactics. How do we get these contracts accepted? How do we create 6-figure profits? We're going to walk you through step by step exactly how to do all that. And then how to set your business up to serve you. I think this is the most important part of the whole dang presentation is, how do I set this business? It's all great. Everybody can teach you another real estate investing strategy that you can make money with, but how do you actually implement it and make it work? Especially if you're working a full-time job, especially if you don't want to be a slave to it. Hey, grind and work hard. I'm a big proponent of that. It was built into me. But what I have learned how to do in the last 10 years of being an entrepreneur versus the first 10, please God, don't spend the next 10 years being a slave to something when you don't have to. Learn from somebody that's already made all those mistakes, that's already been down that path and can show you a better way to do it. Even if it's not us, find somebody that's running a super successful real estate investing business in a few hours a day and model them. I hope it's us, but if it's not, find somebody that is. And then show you how to make money and have the life at the same time. So let me talk a little bit about this. We've sold tickets to this event, thousands of tickets to this event for the last 9 years. Every ticket that we've ever sold to this has been for $2,000. Our course in and of itself, we've always sold for $19.97. All of our short sale documents, that's just a fraction of what we've paid for it to put all that stuff together. We have a BPO appraisal system and checklist that we sell on our website for $9.97. There's some bonus modules in there. It's $10,000, $11,000 worth of value of what we have always charged for this. We have been talking to Chuck, and I wanted to do something super special. This is not gimmicky. We've never sold it at this price ever. It's always been $2,000 for a ticket to our event, and we've had thousands of people come through our event. So I mean this from the bottom of my heart when I say we're making it a price that everyone can afford and everyone can take advantage of, because I don't want anybody to have an excuse as to why they let this time pass them by. Because once this window ends, we're going to probably experience this bubble for 12, my guess 12 months to 18 months, something like that. And then it's going to recover, and then it's going to go away potentially for another 10 years. And so I don't want you guys to miss out on that. When I said this changed our life,
It absolutely did.
it changed our life.
Yes.
It changed our families' lives. It changed your children's lives. We aren't slaves to business anymore. We have our investments that support our lifestyle right now. I still like nice things. We both still like nice things. We've made a lot of money, and we still continue to make a lot of money from real estate investing, but I'm telling you, there's going to be more opportunity for that in the next 12 months than there has been in the last 10 years. And I want to make this affordable that everybody can jump on it. If you want to bring a guest, $397 for an extra ticket. We'll give you a workbook. We'll give you, everything that's involved in that. But $897, that price is for tonight only. And one thing that we're going to do is for the first 20 people that grab that, remember what number 2 was and the strategies for success. Number 2 was ability to take massive action. There are times in life where you have to convince yourself to act, because if you don't, opportunity is going to pass you by. And I believe that this is one of these times. So I respectfully want to condition you into that right now. So the first 20 people that take advantage of this, what are we going to do? Rachel and I are going to do a 30-minute
strategy
a
session
one-on-one coaching strategy session for you and your specific situation. This isn't a group call. This is me, her, you on a Zoom where we're looking at each other, and we will help you, tell you exactly what you need to do. You tell us where you're at, what your goals are, what you're trying to achieve. We normally charge $2,000 an hour for consulting. So this is a really cool value for the first 20 of you that take advantage of that. I am going to throw can we do this? Can we throw the, how do we do that? Can we throw the
in the chat,
for
right?
that in the chat?
Yeah.
Let me go back to the Zoom meeting here, and I will throw it in the chat. Oh, did somebody already do that?
Looks like it.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you guys very much for doing that. I'm going to stop my screen share because Rachel and I wanted to hang out for a few minutes.
Answer any questions.
Answer any questions that we can. For those of you that are coming to the 2-day or that have already bought a ticket, we are super, super excited. We're going to it's nothing but content the entire 2 days. I hope that from tonight you see that we have a lot to teach. We're really passionate about this. This is near and dear to our heart, and we want to deliver for you guys at a super, super high level. So thank you for the opportunity for that. Thank you for spending your time with us tonight. Almost everybody stayed on. A lot of people stayed on almost the whole time. So hopefully we're exciting. Hopefully we provided you guys with a ton of value, and any questions that we can answer to help you down your journey, we're absolutely willing to do that if you want to open it up for questions.
Well, we have 3 questions so far. And the first one is, what is a surety bond?
What's a surety bond? Good question. Although it doesn't necessarily apply to short sales, that was the mortgage world. But a surety bond is a bond that basically says if you do something wrong, because back at the time there was no licensing requirements for a mortgage company. If you do something wrong, if you get sued, if you mess somebody's loan up or whatever, and they sue you and you don't have the money to pay the judgment, the surety bond pays the default amount.
Yeah. Okay, the next question is, does the hardship letter come from the homeowner?
Good question. Yes, it does. And I always say make sure that it makes sense, right? Because the hardship letter paints the picture to the bank on what's going on and what's happening. And you all know some people write wonderfully and some people don't. And so although we can't tell them what their hardship is, we want to make sure that they write a letter that it makes sense and is kind of given a timeline of events of what led up to their hardship and their current situation.
Awesome. Before I read the next question, which we have two more now. Oh no, sorry. Marty Reardon says, thanks for the explanation. James Clark, if you're still on this call, we have someone looking for your contact information for your Who's Got What. If you check your chat. All right, this question is from Tim Burrell. Short sales are approved for a specific buyer. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and most major lenders are required to vet the buyer, as there is a list of buyers that lenders are not allowed to be buyers in short sales. For example, hedge funds that will not disclose the people who own the hedge fund cannot buy a short sale. The sale has to be closed by that buyer. If you substitute a different buyer, the short sale has to go back to be approved for that buyer. How do you make money on a short sale other than a commission as a realtor?
Okay, so yeah, good question. We're not a hedge fund, and there is no specific rule to an investor as a buyer as who qualifies to be a buyer. I agree with you. A hedge fund may not be able to qualify for that, but us as a regular investor or person, that's every short sale deal that we've ever done. So, I mean, essentially what's happening is we're putting this property under contract with Bank of America, right? Like the sellers, let's say the seller is John Smith. And so we have John Smith sign the contract, and now we're negotiating with Bank of America. And let's say we believe the after repair value or the current value, because we didn't do a rehab on the first 100 deals we did. We just sold them as is. Our average profit margin was over $30,000 just selling them as is, not even touching them or rehabbing them. So what we were able to do, how you do it, is you tie the property up with the contract. We go to Bank of America and we believe that this house is worth 200 grand as it sits. We negotiate. We're trying to negotiate down to a price of around 150,000, maybe even a little bit lower if we can. We're trying to negotiate it down to the lowest possible number that we can. And when we believe that we have it there and we get an approval letter from the bank, once we have that approval letter in writing from Bank of America saying that we can buy this house for 150 grand, we can now take this house and market it on the MLS, on Craigslist, on wherever we want to advertise it, Zillow, for $200,000 and market that property before here's the cool part, we can market it before we've ever even closed on it. So that's what was really cool for Rachel and I when we were first getting started is we weren't experts at evaluating after repair value. We weren't experts at analyzing repair costs. We had never done it before. We had never, ever flipped a house before in our entire life. But this strategy allows you a safety net in that if we couldn't find the buyer for 200, even though we had it approved for 150, we would maybe drop it to 190. If we couldn't find the buyer at 190, we'd drop it to 180. At some point, the margin gets too skinny, but guess what? We've never closed on it, so we have no risk. Now we just go back to Bank of America and say, hey, sorry, we really wanted to buy the house at 150, but we can't anymore. And then we would submit a new offer a couple of days later for 120 or a number that was lower that made more sense. And that's why I think this is one of the coolest investing strategies that there is because it can significantly reduce your risk if you do it correctly.
With the proper disclosures, here I am going to come in with the analytical side of this, right? Though, because there's proper disclosures and you have to know what you're doing to do that. You also made mention that you can assign it, and you're completely right. But when you're creating the right profit margins on these deals, you can hold that property for 30 days, or you can hold it for a day and then resell it. There are times that there are some hold periods and even deed restrictions put on these short sale approval letters. But when the margin's right and the numbers are right, I tell everyone, and on our own deals, we plan to hold it for a minimum of 30 days because most of the time you're going to have a 30-day hold. But I've gotten 2 approvals in the last couple of weeks, and neither one of them have a hold period on them, so I could close on them.
Don't freak out about the hold period thing either, because we had to hold some. We had no money. Transactional funding is not a super difficult thing to come across.
You have a ton of resources for that.
Don't let that be something to kind of freak you out.
Right.
I wanted to say real quick, thank you to everybody who has already purchased a ticket. Our team will be reaching out to you. We're going to give you some homework. We're going to give you some things to be working on between now and the event in August so that you don't have to wait to then to get going.
And you're clear on what to do, right?
Yep.
Because we just gave you a whole lot of information. It's now like, okay, now where do I start? And we're going to say, all right, It's week 1. First thing you do is this, and then this, and then this. We're going to be walking you through that blueprint up until our event in August.
Yeah, we're not just going to say see you at the end of August.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot for you. Our team will be reaching out to you as soon as we get that information within the next day or two. Our team will reach out. We'll get you set up for the Zoom. We'll get you added to our Facebook groups. We'll get you added to our training, to the next 4 or whatever weeks of training that we're going to do prior to the event. So there's probably a lot of things that are included in this that I didn't even mention, but I just want to say for everybody who has already purchased a ticket, or those that are planning to, it's in the chat box. Click the link. For those of you that already did, super excited to work with you. Any more questions? Anything else we can help with? Anything at all, guys? Throw your question in there.
There's a couple more questions. Tim Johnson,
Yeah.
hi Tim, asks, I've heard that short sales usually drag out for months due to bank red tape. What has been your experience?
That is absolutely true. The average short sale probably takes 3 to 4 months to close because of, I wouldn't call it red tape necessarily. I would just call it their process. We have to get the sale date stopped. They have to order a broker price opinion. There are some things that are beyond.
There's a process
yeah,
to it.
our
It's not,
control.
yes. And one thing I want to tell you too, always consider your source too. Like if you've done a handful of these, you probably don't know enough to know that there's a process to these that speeds this up. And once you have that education, you'll have a different experience, but you might work a deal for 6 months. That's completely true. But once you build this pipeline and you start getting consistency, you'll start closing them every single month.
Kind of the cool part about it is because you have it tied up under contract, so nobody else can take the house away from you. So that's why when Rachel said this is a pipeline business, it's a pipeline business because I want to go out, I want to get the contract signed, I want to get it up to the lender. Then I want to run out, get another one signed, get it up to the lender. We don't have to give earnest money. So it's not like you're expending any money to tie these deals up. And once they're up at the lender, some of them are going to take 2 months. Some of them are going to take 6 months, but they're all going to start closing, and it becomes a consistent machine that
Once you
punches out
build it.
closings. Yeah, every month. Super cool. Good question.
So there's one more question, but also I have a question. I
Yes,
used to
ma'am.
do a lot of short sales through my law office, but I haven't done them in a few years. So that's why I'm asking this question.
Yes, ma'am.
For a while, about 8 to 10 years ago, in every short sale, the bank would put a clause that the seller had to sign to say this property was not being sold for investment. And I routinely would just tell my clients to ignore that because there's no way they could enforce that against the seller. Like the seller has no control over what the buyer's doing.
Right.
So I close those all the time with no problem, and I just told them to ignore it because it's not the seller's business. Well, then banks started getting smart and put a provision in there that the buyer had to sign that they were not buying it for investment purposes. So since it's been a few years, do you see that anymore? Is that just not done anymore? What's your take on that?
We have not been seeing it, and we experienced that exact same thing. And so in addition to our state specific contract, we used our own and used both of them because it gave full disclosure in our purchase contract that we were purchasing this property with the intent to resell it immediately or at our own discretion. And so it would send it back. They accepted that, and we were able to start getting that when we got it, because it wasn't every deal that we got it on, but then they would waive that off. We're not seeing them anymore.
That's awesome, and that's why I asked, because I know those things do change from time to time, and the climate has changed. So I'm really glad to hear that. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, I have one more question from you, also from Tim Burrell. During the recession, the Mortgage Forgiveness Debt Relief Act of 2007 said that there was no income tax on debt relief if you did a short sale in your primary residence. So if you borrowed $200,000 on your mortgage, his questions are very detailed, and you only paid back $150,000, there was no income tax on the $50,000 of debt relief. That law expired. How do you deal with explaining to sellers that there may be income tax on the debt relief, i.e. the amount that their payment is short?
So
great question.
Great question. And under Obama, there was a moratorium or whatever on that, and it did expire. You nailed it. That's exactly true. The IRS code, and again, let me preface this since we're on a recorded thing. I'm not a CPA and I'm not an attorney, so I cannot give legal advice.
But that's what we would tell our homeowner too. That's how we would start
Of
off
course.
with them. I just want to make sure to explain that too,
Of
unless
course.
you are that professional.
Yes. The reality of it is that the IRS tax code also says that if someone is financially insolvent, they are not responsible to claim 1099 income from debt reduction from a short pay situation. So like you said, they owe 200 grand, they pay it off at 150. The bank is going to write that $50,000 off as a loss. The only way they can show it on their books as a loss is if they issue a 1099 as a gain to someone else. Well, the IRS tax code says that if you're financially insolvent, you don't have to claim that as income and pay taxes on it. 99.9% of the people that we run into on these deals are financially insolvent. The last thing they're going to let go is their house payment. You will see 99 out of 100 of them have an overdrawn checking account. They have absolutely no reserves. They're losing their house because they have no money at all left. So I have, out of hundreds, thousands of short sale deals that we've either closed or participated in, I have not personally seen a situation where anybody we've done a deal with has had to pay any type of tax or anything because of that. They need to go to their CPA and let their CPA properly document it, but they shouldn't have to pay taxes on it.
That's awesome. Thank you. And that's all the questions. Thank you guys so much. Everyone, let me tell you, my office has negotiated a lot of short sales. It's an art. There's definitely a formula that if you can learn, you can be very successful with short sales. I am personally really excited to hear that the mortgage companies are no longer imposing that restriction, because short sales used to be an excellent opportunity for investors. They haven't been for a few years. They were not. And I think, one thing as investors, we have all these different avenues. And if one of them dries up like that one did, I sort of just wrote it off. And, so it's really great to have a session like this where you see that it's actually possible again. I mean, it's fantastic. It used to be so lucrative. Oh my God, y'all, back in the day, we did so many short sales. And if you can learn the formula for what to say to these lenders, and believe me, everything's a formula. Everything that they're going to teach you if you buy this package, from what to say in the hardship letter, even though it's the homeowner's own story, there is still a formula for things to put in there. The numbers to offer, believe me, if you learn it, you can make a wild amount of money in short sales. And on top of that, no one's doing them right now, because I think most people are like me. I haven't seen them come through my office. I think people wrote them off because of that restriction. Now that restriction's gone, oh my God, jump on this wagon.
And
so
everybody's gonna jump back. I'm telling you guys, everybody's gonna jump back on this bandwagon like they did in 10 and 11. Don't show up late to this party. Take advantage of this now. Even if you go, whatever. We have worked tirelessly. I hope you guys saw that tonight. I hope you got to see that we've just given everything that we could possibly give. Our 2 days the same way. So don't show up late to this party. Understand how to do this now. Understand how to market to these people. Understand how to structure these deals. Understand how to stop the sale. Understand how to negotiate with the lender, because this can be an absolute game changer for you guys for the rest of this year.
Yeah, it is. If it's back with no restriction, it's very lucrative. So I'm kind of excited about that. Again, thanks for a great presentation, everybody. Hope you have a great night. Remember, if you want to be highlighted in our member spotlight, send us an email. We'll tell you how to do it. If you have a legal question you would like answered on the main meeting, send it to Kathy at rdulaw.com or Kathy at tria.com. And Kathy is Kathie. I will answer your legal questions for free, but only if you'll share it with 100 of your closest friends. You have to share with everyone. You get it answered for free. Like our speaker said at the beginning, the best thing you can do as a real estate investor is what you're doing tonight. Get involved in your RIA, in TRIA, educate yourself. Don't just join and then say, okay, I joined. You have to go to all the meetings that you can, get involved, volunteer, make a member spotlight video, send us suggestions for speakers you'd like to see. Keep educating yourself. That's what it takes to become a successful investor. So good night, everyone. Thanks for being here. If you have any questions, shoot us an email. Again, the link to buy this program is in the chat, as well as this will be available on our website as a video replay within the next couple of days. So you can always go back and grab the link that way. Thank you all and have a great night.
God bless you guys. Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Be safe.
We will. You too.